our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Please stand if you'd like to.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the wonderful Lord you put before us, Lord, and be with this team as we work together to try to make this town a better town, a safe town, and just be with all the employees and make sure that they do what they do and do it the right way, Lord. And just keep everybody safe, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chief. Chief. All right, I will now yield to the manager to run us through our budget workshop.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me just kind of recap where we've been. And
I
where we're going.
thought we were doing streaming. We're not streaming?
It's red.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Back to you, sir.
Okay. So just as a recap of where we are, in regards to the general statutes 159, the budget officer is supposed to receive the budget request from staff department heads by April 30th. I did not receive those until around the 13th of May. All right, so that put us in a position of putting all these pieces together in a little bitty short compressed time frame, and we were able to comply and present the budget, the manager's proposed budget, to this board on May 29th. Which brings us to this point today, where we were convening the board and the audit committee in particular to look at any modifications or changes regarding the fiscal year 2025 budget. From here, we will take in any changes that you would like to see. We will take send those changes and modifications to the local government commission as early as Monday. I don't want to delay. And then we will have a public hearing Monday night, the 10th, and we will talk about those changes as far as the public hearing is concerned. And then we'll also be pushing for budget adoption on June 24th. It's important because if everything goes according to plan, we will have a finance director starting July 1st and a human resources manager starting July 1st. I'm still looking for accounting positions, payroll positions, and we're still trying to fill vacancies in terms of what we have available. So that's kind of just a quick recap of where we're at. In terms of the budget, it is balanced, and I'll just give you a very quick brief highlight. I'm not going to go through 2 hours of stuff like we did before. And I'm really speaking in general terms. At the end of the day, the way the budget stands now, we've recommended increasing the ad valorem property tax by 9.1, I think, cents. And that's to cover some shortfalls related into the general fund budget itself, as well as some stuff with fire protection in the Manchester Fire District. Second to that, we are recommending a 5% increase for both water and sewer based on our 2020 rate study. I think it's very critical for us to do that, continue to move in that process, move forward with that. We are recommending a sanitation increase from 307 to 387 per year, and that is roughly a 25%. We also have a $12 add-on fee for litter control, which all in all represents a 29% increase in the sanitation fund. And actually, I think that's it. Various fees and structures related to the building and those types of things that are just kind of into the budget itself. So the idea today is you have been presented with the entire budget document, both digital and in a paper format, and we would like to entertain any thoughts and try to make any changes that you deem necessary based on your prioritization as the Board of Aldermen for the town of Springfield.
Okay, thanks for all the hard work that you've done in such a short period of time. I know you were under a lot of pressure get this done. And so thank you, and to the staff for working cohesively to put our budget together. 9.1% tax increase. Well, we gotta pay the bills, and bills went up, and that means we've gotta pay the bills. I wanna preface this by everything by saying, this is our money that we're spending. This is our tax dollars, and every bit of money that's going out is coming from your personal pockets. These are your taxes. These are our taxes. Everybody who's here on this dais, we pay the same thing that you're paying. So we're not increasing taxes for the citizens. We are increasing taxes for every resident of Spring Lake, which includes all of us too. And we're trying to do right by this money. And so a bit of increase is to be expected, especially with the things that have come down, with the underfunding coming from the county. We've got to make up for those shortfalls. So there are a few things that I wanted, just a few questions that I had, and I see all of the lights on, and we don't have to put your lights on, but we'll just go straight down the row.
I want my light on, okay?
Okay, your light can stay on until your call. We'll just go straight down the row, starting with Mayor Pro Tem, and then we'll carry on. So, I noticed that we froze 4 police positions instead of 3.
4,
So it was 4 and 6 fire positions.
3.
3? 3 fire and 4 police. Okay, I thought I saw 6 frozen positions in the fire department.
It leaves 6 in the Manchester district when you freeze 3.
Okay.
So that might be just the way you view it.
Got it. First Friday on Main is not in here at all. What do we do about that?
What do you want to do?
I want to add First Friday on Main plus a revenue line because this won't be a town expense. I want to add $20,000 for First Friday on Main. And again, we have sponsors lined up already to offset that cost. So once that line is approved plus that revenue line added, we'll have the funding coming right back to the town. Question about FAMPO. I know Mayor Pro Tem had brought that up as well. Is that listed under metropolitan planning in the?
That is correct.
That's the
It is in
FAMPO
the
line.
planning budget.
Okay. So that's all I wanted to make sure is that we had that FAMPO line in there, and I saw the metropolitan planning in the FAMPO, or in the planning line. So that's all that I had for additions and some questions. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. So some of my things that I had submitted was, I'm not okay with a 29% increase with GFL. Their service is still not up to par, and much of what they said they would do in the contract has not been done. I don't think we have had a true audit to know what we're paying for. They didn't really hold back on their increase, they just decided to throw it all on us at one time. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board for that, and also look at, lowering recycling to once a week. Once a month, yep, once a month. So that's that for, GFL. Not happy with our code enforcement contract either.
Can we deal with these issues one at a time?
Okay, go ahead. GFL.
I am aware of your email, right?
Mhm.
I have prepared to discuss that
Okay.
for the board,
Okay.
all right? But I don't want to just spatter everything out there. I want to deal with the things that are of concern to this board,
Okay.
right? And so, with that said, forgive me if I don't, I'm gonna come back to the, on Friday, okay? Let's go straight to sanitation.
Okay, thank you.
So now let's talk about this in terms of numbers and what we're asking and what's really going on. I have no idea about the prior performance of GFL. I have no idea whether Republic services would do better. I do know that in-source services usually get the same level of complaints. So I've had garbage collection in a host of different cities provided in different manners. And it's always, always the same. You're gonna miss this, you're gonna miss this. Why are they putting recycling into the trash? Why are they doing this? This is nothing new. So now let's talk about the numbers. We are currently, the current budget is $307 a year. So I don't know if you can do this in your head. I didn't. I actually did it on paper, right? So for $307 a year, all of our residents, customers, are getting 6 pickups a month. Garbage weekly, recycling twice a month. That's 6 pickups a month. 6 over 12 is 72 times that garbage truck comes by their house in a year. If you take 307 divided by 72, I think you will find that's equivalent to $4.60 every time. Where can you hire anybody to come pick your trash up once a week for $4.60? You get what you pay for. Okay? So there's always going to be, you missed this one, they didn't have enough time. That's not in support of GFL, that's not in support of anyone, but that's basically how the number breaks down. So we did reach out, Carly did, with our contractor, franchise contractor, by the way. We're the ones who signed the agreement, we're the ones who said you could operate in the city, and asked them what would be the cost difference if we went from 2 recycles to 1. Now, it doesn't really matter to me what they say, because I want you to think about this, about mathematically, about really what it means. So the capital expense is there, the trucks, the equipment, all of those types of things. And so the capital expense is pretty much flat, whether you do 6 a month, 7 a month, 4 a month, it's there. You absorb that no matter how you do it. The operational expense will go up and down based on the number of routes. Clearly, if you reduce it by 1 route, you don't have to pay for the fuel. Okay? The labor expense could go up and down, but it's not likely because you still got to do it. Either you do it twice a month. I'm saying all that to say no matter how you look at it, if it's $4.60, is my math right?
426.
$4.26, all right, per route. Even if they reduced one of the recycling routes, I don't think it's gonna be equivalent to $4.26 a month. So, because you still got those other things that you have to prepare to provide that service, the capital and the labor. All you're really talking about is some delta on the operational expense. So if we assume that we do from 2 recyclings to 1 recycling, maybe it's a reduction of X. I don't know. I don't even want to state what I think it would be, because I don't want that to be, you know, I want them. They're the vendor, right? They're the contractor. They have to operate it at a profit, or they don't operate. And so they have to make decisions in terms of what their market is and what they can stand. We don't get to dictate that. We sign an agreement, 3/7. In that same agreement, it said that there could be an increase equivalent to basically a CPI. So if they haven't done that increase in 3 years, and now it comes across as a 25% increase, we go from 307 to 387. Mathematically, if everything else stayed the same, that Latin term ceteris paribus, all we're doing is talking about the difference of $1 per route or $6 per month. That's what we're talking about. So reducing that is really not our lane. So we can cancel the contract, right? Then what? Right? Then what? So this is the real thing that I'm talking about in terms of, you know, how do we have these conversations about a 25% increase in sanitation is been the same, but if you've done nothing in 2 years and now you do 25%, the cost of everything has gone up, and they have to absorb it just like we do. So we start this with a tax increase, a rate increase on water and sewer. When we fail to do that, we're not actually benefiting our citizens. We're selling them short because we're not providing quality services. So then we can't turn around and expect the same thing from a contractor. You get what you pay for. Now, are we getting the quality service? It depends, right? I know that, it's always gonna be these hit and misses. And, I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and 2 days ago about yard debris pickup. I hope to talk about that as well. So, I hope to talk about that as well. And that's where we're at. We have actually reached out to GFL and asked them if they would consider going from 2 recycle routes to 1, and then therefore reducing the rate. We always have the option of also removing that $1 per month or $12 per month that we're talking about for litter control. That's completely in our hands. So that's what we've done, and I don't know where that's gonna go, but we are under contractual agreement. They have to cover their costs, and they have to make a profit. They're already business, and we will see what they come back with. So we were expecting it by yesterday, but we didn't get it. So, that's the short about sanitation. Now, I don't know what else to say.
And I appreciate that, but we have to, if we're gonna expect our residents to pay for any service, it should be quality service.
I agree,
And
100%.
there is not a week that I don't get a complaint about sanitation, so.
Okay, so, whether it's GFL or
Yeah,
what,
right.
right?
Excuse me. So, that's also important, you have a 29% increase, but your quality is still not
Right. So-
improved or.
One other option,
Mhm.
right, that I've seen other communities exercise is to completely get out of the garbage business altogether.
And privatize it?
Nope, just get out of it altogether. So,
And you
yes,
let the
you call
citizens
whoever
call
you
their
want.
own.
So that's what I did. All right? Y'all should know that, I don't come into here blind. This is a pricing scheme of another local one. I'm sorry, Mayor, I wish I could.
No, it's not.
I've got a lot of stuff. And I wanna walk you through this. And now I'm gonna be John.
We got all, your regular one? Acres proposal.
Okay, now I'm gonna be John. Jason, could you help me make sure that, our attendees have one of these suits?
I will,
don't want
be
to sell
glad
them
to.
short.
Thank
I don't want them
you.
to not know what we're talking
Figure it out,
about.
Max.
Well, I guess I probably need to
You
keep
need to
one.
keep
since-
one. Good job.
Okay.
What are you talking about, these people?
Yeah, no.
All right, so let's go with these people. This is a 5-minute Google search. That's all it is, okay? This wonderful, wonderful world of the internet. It's on the internet, it must be true. So, I don't know who this company is. I hope that I blanked it out or redacted it. I don't know, because I'm not advertising for anybody. But it starts up there, says you can get 1 week of pickup for $19.50, whatever, my eyes don't read that well, maybe much more, a month. Or twice a week for $24 a month. Both of these options are include a 65 gallon. I think our roll carts are 95 gallons, not 65 gallons. So you gotta do the math. You gotta do the math, because the trucks pick it up. And so how they deploy their resources, whether it is 2 backsteppers and a driver, or it's a single one-arm bandit, that's a company decision, it's not ours. We just basically agree to a price and then we franchise it. Now, the reason why I bring this up is this company is local. In another city that I work in, we did not franchise with any individual. We only franchised with a group of 3 people. That forces the 3 to be selected among every resident. Every resident had a choice of 3. All right? And so that creates the competition and therefore drives the price. We didn't care who they picked, but it drove the price. Now, I actually chose the higher price because I wanted the service capacity. You also have a cheaper option, but you get what you pay for. We're just not in charge of the market that way. We just can't do that. And so one thing we could do is not have a contract with any single provider and just say, residents, if you want garbage pickup, here are different options you can do. You can choose. Now, this is kind of a sidebar. I had breakfast with my dad today, this morning before I came here. I have breakfast with my dad every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. And he says, well, what time are you gonna get back? He said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and go get my trash and haul it over to the landfill. Oh my goodness, he couldn't have said anything worse. I said, well, Dad, what's that gonna cost you? Now, don't you think about this. So what's the value of my dad's time? What's the value of your time? So he's gonna leave, he's gonna go to the house, he's gonna put all of his garbage in the pickup, right? Then he's gonna haul it down here to the convenience station, unload it, then he's gonna go back to the house. He's got a capital expense, the truck. He's got an operational expense, the gas. And he's got a labor expense, his time. 1 hour. What's the value of your 1 hour? It's costing him just easy money. We'll just say he got $20 an hour. It's costing him $20 just to make that one trash run. And we're making trash runs 6 times at $25 a month. Follow? You can trash. I choose now to haul it myself, but it's right around the corner for me. So these are the types of conversations that have to occur. It can't be because the delta is 25% instead of 10%, and then we need to take and dictate to the private market what their rates need to be. No, we do agreements with that. Now, if we're not getting the services, we can clearly follow up with that. Okay, but the rates are adjustable, and that's built into this agreement, this contract that we have. So it is based on that, but they didn't just come up with an arbitrary number. It's based on the agreement. That amendment was
It started this year,
This
this
year.
fiscal year.
okay. So I just wanted to share that with you in terms about options and possibilities. I also put on here the second page. I don't want to miss this either. This is another opportunity. Guidelines and possibility or policies. All yard work will be picked up on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month by request only. Let me tell you how we do it. We get in a truck, ride around, see if we do piles. It's crazy, okay, by request only. And then we can't get around. Our equipment don't work, it's broke down half the time, and then we get people complaining. Then you have, I visited 2 sites yesterday with lines of yard debris where they cut down a tree, the contractor cut down the tree, pulled it to the street, contractor bails, and now everybody out there is expected to pay to clean up that contractor's and that private resident's mess. So, what should we do? We should find the contractor or find the resident. All right, it's really that simple. Built into your fee schedule, if you actually went into it, help me now, actually go to it for, I wish I had it highlighted. It'll be red no matter where I find it. In this budget, in this fee schedule, for this budget, page 10 of 30, FS page 10 of 30, you'll see a mow and cleanup charge of up to 25.25 acres at $80. You'll see anything above the initial 0.25 acres, an additional 0.10 is $30. Hauling of yard debris in excess of 5 cubic yards, $100. That is cheap. That is cheap. Second to that, for your consideration, is an ordinance on yard debris and garbage.
Absolutely.
Okay? So, I ain't gonna go, and God, I don't know how many I got, Jason, you had to pick them up down there.
No.
I got one, there'll be some here. This is not an all or nothing proposal, right? This is not an all or nothing proposal. Because in this particular city, garbage services were provided by city employees. It wasn't an outsource. So you got 3 different ways. You can insource it, hire your own employees, capital, operation, labor. You can outsource it, right? And I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't wanna be in the garbage business.
Right.
You can outsource it like we've done with GFL, but then you get a, this cost balance ratio between, they're gonna miss it just like our employees would, right? And then finally, you can just say hands off with the market driver. If you wanna pay your neighbor to haul it to the solid waste and landfill, which by the way will also show up on the taxes, you pay for that too, okay? Or if you have a pickup, you can do it yourself like my dad, but it's all about cost. It's all about cost and, what you do, opportunity and choices. The one thing I wanted to show you with this one, this particular ordinance, is that picture right there. All right, it details what 8 cubic yards are. I can't tell you how many times over the last week, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, or whatever, how long I've been here, a month now? I've heard they won't pick up my yard debris, they only picked up half of it, they won't do this, they won't do that. I got on the 29th, the reason why the GFL's not in the yard debris business is because it don't pay. We're hauling and picking up people's yard debris based on their taxes, and basically we're giving more to one than we are the others. And then there's an expectation for us to do it when they put 20 cubic yards out by the street. 20 cubic yards is the size of the container that we pick it up in. 8 is half of that. So imagine if every resident, had pulled 8 cubic yards to the street. The math does not work. It's astronomical. Do the math. It always comes down to the math. So I brought this just so that you could consider, especially when it comes to this yard debris. You either need to be in or out, or you need to have some strong provisions to find people. If they say, well, a contractor pulled it out there, then find a resident. They're the ones who hired the contractor. Right? We should be in the business of cleaning up after the resident who hired the contractor. And then it comes down to, I got one in my office and, well, they're saying that we're skipping people because they're this person or that person. We got no idea. And we ain't gonna deliver services that way.
Right.
All right, period. If we find out, this just ain't gonna happen. So these are the thoughts about courageous conversations that I'm talking about. It's not about $2 a month from GFL. It's about how do we provide these services? Do we even need to provide these services? Or can someone make choices on their own? And then if they make a choice of whoever they hire, they do the same thing when they would get a burger at McDonald's. And that's a choice. And they pay a certain amount, which is probably high right now, but I don't know. That's really all I want to think about. And so now you can direct us. What do you want us to do
I
in
want
regards to
this,
this sanitation?
ordinance added to our next work session so that we can go through and talk about it. And potentially adopt this. I'm already seeing things that we don't have in ours. Number
That's
one,
correct.
burial of fowl, or refuse matter. We right now allow that. We can just bury things in the ground. We shouldn't be able to do that. So, what do we do so far? Step one, let's talk about updating this, editing it for the town of Spring Lake and possibly adopting it.
So,
Mayor, you said you wanted to discuss that,
Just discuss.
but, my thinking is that we have a lot of ordinances we need to update and.
I'm gonna get to some of them in a minute.
Yeah, and so I would just say that maybe we have a special work session to go through those kind of things, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
We can pull that for the policy committee, let the policy committee come together and start discussing these ordinances as well. Alderman Lackman, would you like to take lead on that?
That would be one that would be a joint effort with the town, with Mr. Rory or
Right.
somebody. We had started that before and it really didn't gain much traction. A lot of work needed to be done with the policies. We did start with that. Some LGC had some comments on there that kind of stopped us to a point. But yes, it's time that the town of Spring Lake gets back into putting stuff together for our residents, not being dictated by LGC.
And I wanted to say that, I think we should look at this because, that might be something, the business, as far as, trash, we might need to get out of. I'm looking at these rates and, And they are, go ahead, what's my,
I think you should always ask the question, what if we don't do this?
right,
You should always ask that question. Because there are people who do that, and they do it for a profit, which makes them highly competitive.
right.
And so you can pay somebody to ride around and find yard debris,
Mhm,
or you can pay somebody to clean it up.
mhm,
And if you pay somebody to clean it up, they don't plan on riding around. They want to get paid to get done.
mhm.
I've done that before too, by the way. On a cost basis, the yard debris, and they would compete directly with our, internal staff doing it.
And the reason I also say this is because if people take their own initiative to do this, they'll understand their contract more, and I think it could clear up a lot of blight.
It can
If they're-
also cause it too. Just remember, what about the
Yes.
people who are not, or who can't afford to pay those prices? Because we're going from what, $4.26
To five
to.
something a route. Yes.
So we're increasing the price. What about the people who can't afford that? What about, the disabled who can't, haul their trash, or, there's so many circumstances, or people who are just lazy and say, the town's not providing it for me anymore, I'm just not putting my trash up.
Well, that's where you have ordinances that have some meat to it and says, you can't do this.
I agree.
We don't
I agree.
enforce a lot of our ordinances.
I absolutely agree with
Yeah.
that, but we're also having the immediate problem of the immediate blight. There's still a process to, fine them paying the fees, it still doesn't pick the trash up, trash is still there. And now it's on our team to go out and clean that up. So now we're burdening our staff too. So, I like the fact that there's an option, so the citizens can choose, should they want to.
Right.
I'm just also thinking about what are the common aspects that are gonna come into play, because people right now are used to Spring Lake coming every whichever day to pick up their trash, and they're saying Spring Lake, we know it's GFL.
Right.
If somebody's not coming to pick up their trash up regularly, and now it's just piling up, we got a problem with them putting their trash out and picking it up now, and it's automatic. I can't imagine putting this into the hands of everybody and then expecting them to clean up.
Mayor, one of the things that I'd like to commend the town, Carly, Bernard on, is there's much better communication. Before with GFL, we never knew that equipment was broke down. Now we know it's broke down every route, every day, every time that they're out.
And when it's coming back.
So that has been great communication that has worked. The audit that's not being done on the cans, I think probably the common theme that we're talking about here with this increase, there are so many cans that are out there, whether it's the recycle, whether it's the trash cans, whether people have multiple trash cans out there that are getting additional service that the rest of us are paying for. I think if the audit is done and is truly done, I think the residents are better informed and are willing to pay that, as you broke it down, that cheap fee versus going out and finding your own. So I think that's the first aspect, the cans, the audit cans. That will make it easier. As far as the bulk pickups that are done, I have always been in favor of residents calling in so that our trucks aren't driving around, breaking down, being utilized out there. But we also have to look at is these landlords that own multiple facilities. And this has been going on since the 60s and 70s, when the young soldier or the soldier moves out in the middle of the night, that landlord would just push everything to the curb and expect the town to come and pick that up. So there are some residents that have trees, multiple pickups that are done per year, but a lot of that I have seen over the time that I've been here in Spring Lake has been those move-outs of those soldiers, those residents, and that landlord just says, all right, town, I pay my taxes, come pick that up. So I am in favor of having residents call in, whether we monitor, track the usage, how often they come, and if they want multiple pickups done in a year and they exceed the limits that may be put in here, then yes, absolutely, then they incur a cost if they want that additional service. So
We have if you look at this, I'm very appreciative of that. You look at this ordinance also, you'll see there are provisions in there for bulk item pickup. So that we just basically said, you're not gonna pick up laundry or wash machines and toilets and stuff all inside the street and all this kind of stuff. You're just not gonna do it. However, if you are one of those who do not have an option other than the town, you can call the town, and after hours, our sanitation workers will come out there on a rate, on a per rate basis. And so they would basically take the truck, let's just think of it at 5 o'clock, they'll go to your house, pick up your washing machine, throw it in the back of the truck, it's $100, right? Guess who gets the $100?
The worker.
They do.
Does that also include boat pickups?
No, it doesn't include boat pickups, but, I don't know about the boat. Errol hadn't told me anything about the boat. I didn't send it to him,
The
but,
county still take care
I
of
just
that.
realized.
I think he took and we picked it up, he gonna make a police boat.
Mayor, I'm gonna let you know, these two people right here was the one that lifted that boat up, put it in the back of my truck, hauled it up here, so that the county could haul that off.
I don't, you know, I just, this is how we have to, this is my opinion, you know, all these years. You really gotta have these conversations. It can't be just it's global. It's something you gotta think
Yeah.
about. So I watched a meeting in here, where Steve stood up and talked a little bit about trash. And he was the one that I talked to, 2 days ago about not doing this or not doing that. We really need to think about what that means in terms of who is getting and who is giving. So when we allow one resident to put rows of stuff beside their house, everybody else is paying for that. It needs to be equitable. It needs to be considered in terms of what the standard is, what the policy is. So I went to this lady's house yesterday, and she's got a row, okay? And she says, oh my goodness, I can't do this, I can't do that, and the contractor, I can't get him to call, he doesn't speak English, he doesn't, none of that matters to me, okay? What matters to me is that I got a bunch of trash on the side of a road and it's sitting in the Towers Freeway. That matters to me, okay? So our focus needs to quit on the this or that. It needs to be more of a green and clean focus about what we're gonna do citywide. And that includes our garbage, that includes our yard debris, that includes everything from our parks, that, you know, whatever it may be. So we need to really roll this out more as a green and clean, instead of what do we pay for sanitation, or what do we pay for yard debris? And what it is that we're gonna do to keep this community clean, period. That's what it's about. And that is the broad policy issue that we need to be focused on. This is a budget meeting.
Right.
So,
Back to-
I'm gonna roll on. We have reached out to, GFL about lowering the rate, at least conditioned upon going from 1 recycling to 2 recycling, or backwards, 2 to 1. I don't think we should go from 4 garbage to 3. You know, you need to stay weekly. Because if you don't, you're gonna have all this stuff packed up outside of the 90 container. So that's the best we can do at this point, in this short notice. Everything else, I think, is policy stuff. And I do, Mayor, I think that we should probably just go ahead and start having additional, my recommendation, just every Monday, no, every Tuesday, third Tuesday, we're gonna have a workshop. Separately from our regular meetings, so that we can focus on courageous conversations instead of just putting it into our meeting agenda and then it gets lost in all the noise. Okay, so, sorry, but that, I would just.
Don't worry, I thought about that before, about adding an additional monthly meeting just for
And
topics like this.
this is just John. I'm just being John. Yeah, let's have the conversation. Let's go.
What was your next thing after the
Code enforcement.
code enforcement?
Are you sure you want to talk about that? Look, my donut. You see Errol out there looking at my donut?
I'm ready.
Those are life preservers, aren't they, Chief?
With a
Life
boat.
preservers. All right, so let's talk about code enforcement. Mathematically, I have no idea where it is here now with all this paperwork, but I think this is it. General definitions, we must pay tax, do different things. All right,
Do you want me to go get it for you?
no, I got it in my head. I'm okay with there, that's why I prep all that time, all this stuff. So, for code enforcement, right now, we currently outsource that, for 24 hours a week at $40 per hour, which is equivalent to whatever's in your budget there, $40,000. Can you do that for me? Can you do that, math? 24 by 52 by 40, and that'll be your contract price for code enforcement for the city. And so that number is where we start. Because the numbers don't lie, right? And when you start with the math side of it, then you start to get to understand the delta of what you're trying to accomplish. And is the juice worth the squeeze? Do you get an ROI on advancing more dollars to code enforcement? I just got through saying that our focus needs to be on green and clean, not on garbage, not on, it's mowing the grass, it's everything. It's code enforcement the whole 9 yards. So last week I went to 49,920. Carly's been doing a lot of math with me for the last month. But, so for $49,000 a year, we're getting 24 hours a week of code enforcement. For $49,000 a year, we're getting 24 hours a week of code enforcement. 1 cent on our tax rate. Anybody remember?
41,000.
41,000. So 1 cent of our general fund tax rate, we are now converting to code enforcement. Can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, budget policy is if you want to expand a service, you gotta have ongoing revenues or clearly identified expense cuts. So, code enforcement, 24 hours, may or may not be enough, but I do know this. I know that I spent time with a lady last week talking about an abandoned mobile home park. And she says, what are you gonna do? I said, well, the first thing I'm gonna do is go out there and look at it myself. That's the first thing I did. I went out there and looked at it myself. So she looks out her front door and she sees everybody else's old mobile homes, windows broken, underpinning falling, people coming in and out the windows, sleeping in it, all kinds of different stuff. And you know what? She's right. You just cannot debate one way or the other. She's right. So the question becomes, what do you do? Now, so let's just think a little bit about the finance structure of what we're trying to do with code enforcement. Code enforcement is to handle weeds, signs, pollution, blight, you name it, the list is long, right? So we can do this. I can tell you right now, if I hired one full-time code enforcement officer, capital, operations, and labor, those 3 components, right? The labor component itself, all in, is gonna be equivalent to about $80,000 a year. It's similar to what we would pay for a police officer, right? $48,000, somewhere along that line. So all in, $80,000 a year. Then I gotta have something for him to drive to go see all this stuff. I got my own truck, right? But gotta have something for him to drive and look throughout the whole town and find this. Then once identified, you gotta go through all of these different procedural stuff, so you gotta have some type of administrative, operational stuff moving forward. At the end of the day, let's just make it easy. If we want a full-time code enforcement program, we're gonna program budget that at a minimum of $100,000. So, if you wanna go from 49,000 to 100,000, we're dedicating 1 cent to the tax rate for code enforcement. Now we need to take 100,000 divided by 41, and we come up with 2.25 of our tax rate for code enforcement. That's one option. Do you get an ROI doing that? All right. So now you go out and you find all these things wrong, and you go, how do I clean it up? So another option is stick with the outsourced code enforcement that provides their own truck, their own insurance, their own retirement, everything, 49,000, 24 hours, but now supplement them with powers, fines, and dollars. Now, I would, somewhere in one of these papers that I've worked on about code enforcement, instead of changing from 49,000 to 100,000, I changed from 49,000 to 80,000-ish, and I would put $40,000 in the pot, 1 cent, there you go, on our tax rate, so that we can go up and tear down some trailers, mow some grass. You gotta have the ability to act. We can go identify, but how do you act on that? So right now, when we go to this abandoned mobile home park, the conversation, and I've had this conversation with code enforcement, Okay, so this isn't just something we're talking about. Now we got it out there, and you go, what are we gonna do? In the past, I've taken a backhoe and my stormwater crews and tore down pools and old houses. Loaded up into a roll-off, let GFL come get the roll-off and take it to the landfill. We're done. But we're using resources to do that. Then you take and you have that charge and you put it on the property itself. It goes as a lien. You will never collect it, okay? Then eventually, when you don't collect it, you foreclose on it and you own the property. And then you tax sale the property. If the person in Wisconsin don't care about it now,
You're not gonna care about it when you find it.
what are we gonna do it? All right? They're having to make the same decisions that we are in terms, is there an ROI for me to come from Wisconsin, tear down this air property that's been there for 20 years falling apart, it just, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. And so now you go, I can clean it up, tear it down, lien the property, foreclose the property. If we go to the point of foreclosing property, they might say, well, I don't wanna foreclose, now I'll pay you this stuff. But you got to act. It's when you can't take action that everything else, the reason you have code enforcement is because enforcement don't work. It's the bottom line. We have speed limits and we write speed tickets because the speed limit signs don't work. How do you take action? And so that's where I'm at on code enforcement. I've had conversations with our outsourced group. I have actually visited sites and looked at that. I think it is a part of our green and clean initiative. It's not a one-off, it's something that we have to focus on. So, today is 37 days. I haven't been able to get to that yet, but, I maybe tomorrow.
So,
Tell about tomorrow, Carly.
I'll love you tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow,
No,
there's always a day away.
Oh,
We
day
will
away.
work on it. I think that is a very critical element for the town of Spring Lake and the executive leadership team for us to tackle this issue and figure out what the long-range vision is. And to me, I think a grassy area in front of this lady's house where there are no dilapidated, wore-out mobile homes is the vision.
Absolutely.
And how we get there.
so
But I can't do it alone.
so we're not gonna implement that in this budget cycle, we're gonna wait.
I'm working on it now.
Okay.
And so my point is that.
You mean not implement that, you're saying not implement the additional 40,000?
The additional to have some meat behind it, to enforce.
Additional fines and fees. I just wanna know what that was.
I would like to put dollars to taking action. Currently in your budget, you have no dollars to take action. All you can do is identify a problem. That's the first step, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But now, what's the solution? We need to put dollars in the budget on the code enforcement side to implement the solutions.
And do we have time to make that happen?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Do we have the money to make that happen?
Depends. That's the question for the board. Okay, so all I have in the budget is that piece of, you gotta have these conversations, is 49,000.
So we would need to take money
49,000.
from something to put it.
That's correct.
Or cut something?
Any
Yes.
expansion of a program,
Yes.
ongoing revenues, or clearly identified expense cuts. It don't work any other way. And so you either raise the tax, cut the expense, eliminate a program, put it over here. You're moving it around, right? That's really all you're doing today. And you have to determine what your priorities are. And I think that it is, you can't expect increases in your tax digest, in your property values of any significance if you have too many blighted areas in your community.
Right.
So it's a chicken or egg, what do you tackle first?
Right.
Right? So you continue to tax those that are here more because the values are down. So their property values going up doesn't necessarily mean they get an increase, their net worth goes up, but they don't get an increase in their cash flow. So you have to think about all those things, and so that's what the manager's supposed to do. And I'm happy to do it, but I just can't do it in 37 days. We'll keep going, and, right now, I think that this board needs to make a decision on whether or not we wanna move this from there. I'll tell you, right? What you don't see, or you may not have caught in the budget, right, is that we had $104,000 shortfall in the general fund. That's after us moving this and moving that, and freezing firefighters and police officers and all this kind of stuff, right? It's not voodoo math, it's just math.
Right.
So it still had $104,000 shortfall. Now let's highlight topic that shortfall. $96,000 is for the human resources manager in that department. So $104,000 shortfall, 96,000 of it is just HR. That's new, right? That's a new position. That's an expansion of a program. 50,000 is put into the public buildings to fix stuff. Lo and behold, if we don't fix the stuff, guess what? We kick the can down the road and then we have to replace the stuff. And so stitching time stage 9, what are we gonna do? We need to fix the stuff. So I put 50,000 in the budget. So it keeps on and on and on. But you get to a point where you go, I can't bleed. Get blood out of the tournament. Where we at? What we gotta do? And so trying to put all of those things in there is important. 50,000 is a drop in the bucket. Do you know what the value of the town of Spring Lake assets are?
No.
I have no idea either.
I was, still we
That
have
would be,
an asset
now, we pay
inventory.
insurance. So if we have an insurance claim, right, you should dedicate, if you look at APWA, like Public Works Association, they'll say that you should be replacing at least 1% of your pipes every year. What are we doing?
Nothing.
All right, so are we even treading water? That's where we're at, and that's what we gotta do. So, replace the pipes, replace the meters, fix the buildings. Half a dozen times we've had to call them in here because the air conditioning don't work. And it's going down and it's humming and it's stopping and it's doing this. Jason's had to help out with us. We had Renee and I mopping the floor down here on this end a couple weekends ago. We were working, that was Memorial Day. Renee and I both were working Memorial Day. And one of them froze up, started leaking through the ceiling. Now you got damaged ceiling tiles. I haven't walked down that hall. I went and broke the wet ceiling tiles 2 weeks ago. What is the bet? Anybody want to bet me that those ceiling tiles are still missing? I mopped the floor and left, right? I took immediate action. I wonder if them ceiling tiles have been replaced.
If Steve knew about it, they would have been replaced in 5 minutes.
I don't know. We'll see. Steve did actually act on it when he come back during the Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever. So that's where I'm at with code enforcement. Any other direction? Would you suggest that we figure out how to put some dollars in there?
Yes,
Absolutely.
I would, yeah, I would.
Okay.
I think those are some of our biggest number of calls we get is that.
I don't want you to act on this now.
Right.
So where are you gonna take it from?
Oh, I mean.
I just want to leave that floating there.
Oh, I already know.
Where we gonna take it from, what we're gonna do, but,
I ain't gonna say it like that.
all right, we'll deal with it. So, I'm okay, you wanna, moving on?
Yeah, well, the big one, Manchester. I can't.
Can we do the little ones first?
Okay.
Let me go back to the green and clean aspect.
Yes.
I know I've talked to Chief Williams, Mr. Williams, different times on that. And one of the easiest ways to address some of the blight, part of it's been taking back our streets, cleaning back the streets, getting that vegetation off the streets. But Mr. Williams was talking, Chief Williams was talking in regards to the fire department can use a training opportunity to burn down some of these areas. And that has the most cheapest, probably, and the quickest impact to clean up and get rid of some of this blight that's out there. And I don't think a lot of our residents know that this is available. And part of it, we talked about asbestos and different
Yes.
testing that has to be done. So it's not just just a broad brush of the stroke, or a broad stroke of the brush.
Yeah.
But this is an opportunity of getting that information out there to the residents so that they know some of these options, because it may be very expensive for them to hire somebody to come in and cut down all that brush, to haul away that brush, to get that old building or that trailer or whatever removed from there. So this is part of the courageous conversations that we can have and addressing that not only as a board, as a town, but also as a community.
What you're saying.
Was that?
No, what you're saying.
See something?
Say something.
With staff.
That's right. See something, say something.
They were out around town every day.
Well, we are trying to express to staff that we don't want to, don't walk by a problem.
Right.
Don't walk by a problem. You know, we can do something, take action, notify, do whatever. Don't walk by a problem, and try to be a solution to stuff, and it's everything from picking up a piece of paper off the floor in the park. Right, it's just simple little things, but, the burning aspect, I know that, we can consider some of those, there are some limitations. But at the end of the day, we just need some dollars, that even cost, we need some dollars to take action,
Okay, yeah.
regardless of what that action is. You know, asbestos, asbestos abatement, depending upon whether it is shingles, siding, vinyl, mastic, whatever it is in the building, you still have to go through that, even if you burn it, you have to go through that if you have to tear it down. So, you know, it's there. Gotta deal with it. Anything else you had, or?
Well, I didn't see the apparel for the board.
Can I just say I'll take care of that?
Okay, and,
That's the best way to put it for me.
and I also didn't see, I saw where you kept our travel at 1,500,
Yes,
but, you had the clerk at 2,000.
actually, the administrative department is at 5,000, and so that includes 3 people. So, in light of that, I wanted to kind of give a brief synopsis of travel and training. So I went to the governing board, and the governing body has 9,000, which is equivalent to $1,500 each. All right, it's easy math, everybody gets it. Admin has 5,000, which is equivalent to 2,500 each if you consider the 2 of us without Renard. Maybe there is an equity issue. Okay, I mean, I don't know if you want me trained or not, but maybe there is an equity issue. So that was a highlighting moment for me, to go just from governing body to admin and go, wait a minute, but the plot thickens. Okay, so the plot thickens. So, the finance department is $2,244, which is equivalent to $448 each for 5 people. It's the finance department. HR, travel and training for the new HR budget, 0. Okay, so I expect some of that will be absorbed from admin. You'll have to move different things around in the lines. Public buildings, travel and training, 0. Police department, $9,000 for the police department. That's equivalent to $310 each for 29 people for 27 badges. So the governing body's at 9,000, the police department's at 9,000. Okay. Fire department's at 16,000, which is equivalent to 1,142 each for the 14 people assigned to the station here. But that's mostly in supply items. It's not a travel training budget where they go somewhere. It's connexes, it's supplies to do burns at the training center, things of that nature. They train their own. Manchester's at 0. The inspection department's at 3,300, which is for 1 person, right? Streets and power bill, 4,600 for 4 people, which is 1,168. All in the general fund, what we're committing to travel and training is 49,184. 1 penny on our tax rate is the travel and training. We've got to focus on what the tax rate is, 1 penny. It helps us kind of visualize what we're asking for. So, if we increase travel and training for the governing body from 1,500 to 2,000 or $500 each, that's a $3,000 delta. Now you got to go. Where's it going to come from? All right, expand the program. Where's it going to come from? So, no, I did not make any modifications to the governing body in terms of the travel and training budget. The question, how do you divvy all of that up in the entire general fund? That's the focus. And so I can take from the 9,000 in the police department and move 3,000 over to the governing body. I can take 3,000 out of the inspection and leave them with 300 and move it over to the governing body. Now, the adequacy of whether it's enough or not is another debate. Right, is another debate. And so I know that that's a struggle point, but it's global. It's not the line, it's global. So what do you do when you look at all of it?
So, according to conversations with LGC, it doesn't, they don't represented as being all one thing, like, it's like only governing bodies is governing bodies. Isn't that how they
For
presented
training
it?
and travel.
Yeah, that
Are you
is so.
saying like, that 40 plus 49,000, I think you just said, for
That's
training
the
and
entire
travel?
general fund.
That's it, but we're saying, when we, last budget,
Yeah.
when we were talking about training and travel, it was governing bodies fund was specifically for a governing body. It wasn't a part of this pot of money to be divvied up
That is
amongst
true.
everybody.
So
Was
the
that-
governing body,
Yeah.
the fire department, the police department is an account,
Right.
right? So they're part of the chart of accounts. Each unit has a different account. That's the same across everybody globally. So you can move, I can move within the governing body's budget, all right? But it takes board approval to move it from the police department to the governing body, or the police department to the fire department. So there's limitations to what you can do when you talk about those line item transfers. So that's why I mean about global versus what it is. And so, under these circumstances, it's one of the things that I just think should be left alone, stay the same. Instead of doing increases in the travel and training. That's just where I'm at. But it's a policy decision. You have to adopt a budget.
So we went down, it was, 9,750 for last budget, and now we're budgeting for 9,000, so we've cut our training and travel budget for governing body.
And I would say that, a lot of what we've had to learn and have learned has been because we've gone to, conferences and network and things like that, so I'm still saying, I think it
The
should.
first thing that's cut in any budget under any type of fiscal crisis, is going to be travel and training. It probably should be one of the last. So it's not, is it value, it's where at, right? And how do you slice that up among everybody? So, if if the board wants to take and say, okay, let's go from 9,250, 1, 2, 3, 750, 1450, to 10,500. Now everybody gets 1,500 plus 250, 1,750.
So
We'll start modifying.
I will hold off until we have our big conversation then.
Okay.
But as far as, I'm okay with training and travel. If we can cut it and still be able to make sure that those big ticket items that have been extremely instrumental to our learning, I'm okay with that. If we provide itemized,
I don't know what you read, Mayor. I simply left it the same. I didn't increase it or cut it.
looking at the manager recommended 2024-25 training and travel for the governing body. Our current year budget is 9,750. Department request is 9,000, and manager recommended is 9,000.
I hate when I'm caught and I'm wrong. That's why y'all got these fancy books, right, from Garden. Now you can call me out and make me wrong, right? I'm just kidding, y'all. Trust me. That doesn't bother me. There's a lot of lines that you have to focus on. You know that.
So this is I don't know what page it is.
All right, I stand corrected. I'm gonna hush. Okay? So, are you okay if we go back to 9,750?
Yes.
Okay.
Carly, when we sent you itemized list for the specific, trainings that we wanted to be a part of, does this $9,750 cover that? What we budgeted for this current year?
For the most part,
Oh, like that one, kind of made me a little.
I mean,
It's
depends
it's
on which,
because-
actually, if
It's
this,
because we deal with over expenses, just call it what it is. For the most part, she's trying to dance. I ain't gonna dance with you. When you have a purchase order that says you're gonna spend this, that's what you spend or less. You don't spend more. So quit dancing. At the end of the day, when you go to a travel training conference, you spend what you are authorized to spend. You don't just to get to make decisions and do different things, and so we're still dealing with that. Also, I'd like to draw your attention to, not that it's wrong, it's just there, the same budget governing body, dues and subscriptions at $20,000. Didn't make any changes. When you look through that, you'll see the bulk of that is the delete. Highly appropriate, I'm not challenging that, all right? I just want you to see that the dollars are just, this is how you distribute them. That's important as well. So you have, BMO, Mayor's Association, Mayor's Coalition, Chamber, COG, NCL, RULAC, SOG, School of Government, 70, there's a way you can move some of that stuff in that budget, if you can make those decisions. I can tell you, when I was looking at it, I chose to avoid it. That's the bottom line. Okay, Mayor, I'm gonna cut your mayor's coalition. Yeah, right. Right. That's something y'all have to do, okay? So I left it alone. So if you wanna go from 9,000 to 7, whatever the mayor said it was, 7 something?
9750.
If you wanna do that, you can move from any one of those lines in your budget very, very easily. But some of them you can't. Everything from group insurance, FICA tax, those are set. You really don't have a lot of movement there unless you just kind of opt out of doing different things. Service and maintenance contract. But anyway, what I'm hearing is consideration of going back to the 9,750.
If only, I don't wanna go above 9,750, but I wanna make sure that, what's listed right now in our dues and subscriptions and in the conferences that we wanna attend, I think that covers pretty much everything that we, especially FAMPO is in planning now. So we've got Mayor's Association, Mayor's Coalition, the Chamber, the COG, National League of Cities, RULAC, School of Government, WIMAGE, BMO, and the League of Municipalities membership.
Those are the memberships, those aren't the conferences or the costs.
That's the cost for our subscription, for our
Yeah.
subscription.
But I'm just saying, it's not even, it's not the cost.
You're right.
But I mean, we can
For
go
the
down,
conference.
yeah, those aren't in here and they're not listed, but we can talk about
But
that.
those would come out of our direct allocations, that $1,500
Yes.
that we have. So if we wanted to go to, say, City Vision, that would come directly out of that $1,500 authorization that we have already in here.
I want to be,
We can,
this movement of putting it here and there, I like to approach this as equity, right? So let's just keep in mind, I got $9,000 for the police department and $9,000 for the governing body, 6 versus 29 in terms of head count. I mean, you can, shake that up through revenue, collections and everything. Travel and training is also and can become a runaway. You just have to be very, very clear about that, okay? So, I cut out the fire department's budget, travel and training. I don't know if it was a Connex or a Lomo or something like that. Something like that. So, and so you go, well, why? So now all of a sudden, what are you doing? How are you impacting local training? We can't just go everywhere.
Right.
We've got to be very limited on what we do. We have to make some prioritization choices. I think the league is probably pretty critical.
Yes.
I don't know I don't know anything about some of the others. So, I can tell you, like, the International City Managers Association annual conference, I can't tell you the last time I traveled to one because it's cost prohibitive. Now everything is online and you can go through the webinar. So I just sit in the office and go through them. I just go through the webinar and never travel. It helps me. I still get the same thing. I lose the network component, but it's really not important if I know the manager of something other California, right?
And I get that for you.
But
However, we're brand new elected officials, being that this is still our second term. We've got a lot to learn, and so in order for us to progress the town in the way that we've been, working towards, it took us really buckling down and learning. Like I said, I'm not advocating for us to increase the training and travel, because our first term, I know myself and Alderman Cooper, we paid out of pocket. That's how important training was for me. I spent thousands,
What was it
literally,
then?
thousands of
What was the
dollars.
budget then?
No.
Nothing. We had $500
We-
for
Well,
that's a pretty
everybody.
good point then.
No, for
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
That was all of
No,
us.
for one conference and hotel, we paid out of pocket what this is.
Yeah.
I got the receipts and sent them to the LGC and
And they-
they said we're not paying it,
It's
we wanted to know
so-
what you paid.
Literally. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that I want to drive home is that training to make sure that we are the best at our jobs for our community is of the utmost important enough for us to pay for it out of pocket. And so I don't want to see it taken away, but it can stay the same, because either way it goes, I am going to find a scholarship or I'll pay for it myself to make sure that I'm going to be the best mayor I can be for the community. So like I said, I just didn't want to see it go from $9,750 to $9,000, because that's a significant cut, especially when expenses are also coming out of pocket.
All right. Training.
And then you'll be- Save the big one. Y'all don't have to turn, I promise. I ain't gonna be quiet.
Email my list and you all knew. So like, Valor awards and things like that, we never buy tables. And I know that it's a cost to it, but is there any way we can, go back to at least, having the ability to attend these, through funds from the town? Like,
What?
we had a fire, we had somebody in fire, was it, Jason? Win an award and
Jason was the one that won the award.
Good job.
yeah, and,
You ever heard of that?
it would have been great to, well, I found out last minute, but still, I think it's important that we, go to these things.
We had bought, I have bought tables and things before, so the short answer is yes, I think you need to have a presence in
Okay.
those. I don't know where we're at in terms of the budget, but I'll be glad to
Okay.
look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to consider that, at some point.
Just to align.
Okay, thank you. And I'm done except for my big, and I'll leave that to last.
Okay. Alderman Lackman?
For that Valor Award,
Yes.
can I speak from over here?
Yeah, uh-huh.
For
Just
that-
loud enough.
For that Valor Award, I mean, Jamie's back there, she's on the whole part of it, but, if his police officers get some awards, he can put in for tickets for you guys for that. It's a lower price, right?
So award winners get, one ticket plus a guest.
Right, you can buy some extra.
Yes.
Yeah, you can buy extra, so that might be something we have, but if we're in, if we have people in Flower Awards, why don't we just put that in? It'd be a lot cheaper than trying to get a whole thing.
And the,
There better be representation.
So,
Yeah.
so we'll have some people, and then we'll work it out. I mean, I think we should be able to almost put it out of our own thing, we want to get out together. So,
Thank you.
okay, thank you
No
very
more
much.
secrets.
Right.
Look at it, look at it.
Stop.
He's eyeballing y'all. Police chief, y'all
Would you
should
like
be
it
doing
on
it.
that? I got it.
John.
Okay, Alderman Lackman?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Rory, thank you very much for the GFL, better understanding of that. Again, that's gonna be a courageous conversation that, you've only been here 37 days. As we get 38, 39, 40.
Real solid.
Yeah, but we'll get those addressed. Code enforcement, I think we're getting a good identification of problems. And as you said, it's the enforcement aspect. And that's where our residents are expecting not only for something to be seen and said, but to do something about it. And that's gonna be one as the committees, as we sit and work on, to put that teeth, put that enforcement and some sort of punitive action in regards to that as we go. to encourage people to voluntarily comply with that. The big one I know that's the big elephant in the room is the fire. As I'm looking through here, and I'll just ask these questions, this is probably one that we all address. The Manchester.
Hang on one second. Do you want to do Manchester all as one, or the smaller items first and then do Manchester together?
If we could do Manchester collectively and get
Okay.
the small
Okay,
ones.
so-
And so I know that there's the small.
Right.
And I don't, not in importance.
Right, we
Governing body,
understand.
travel training.
We understand.
Yeah.
So Manchester, save all, we're gonna do Manchester after we go through all of the other issues, and then we'll hang Jason, after that.
We'll
No?
say fire for last. Got it.
No, don't do that. Yes, Jason's at the end.
And as we go through here, the water sewer fund, the PAL bill, those are all things that we have started to utilize. The PAL bill had sat there for years not being utilized because the funny math, you talk about math being facts. You dealing with cuts and streets and which falls under PAL bill, which falls under streets as we go through here. Our infrastructure, you discussed last time, that has been neglected for decades. And as we're going through here with cuts and patches and fixes on there, really is gonna lead to at some point, we have to start replacing those. And you had mentioned that the pipes that are in there, 25 years versus if you use concrete, 75 years. Town was founded in 1951, so there's a lot of old infrastructure that's in there that's going to have to be addressed. And that's gonna be one of those very courageous conversations that we're gonna have to figure that out before we have to figure that out. So, any thoughts on infrastructure? You've had 37 days now to kind of contemplate this.
I think so. I actually quit counting at 30. They started putting together. I
Hey,
think we might
first,
be
and today
37.
is June sixth.
Yes.
37 days?
So two things are happening right now that we need to keep focused on. We have what's called an asset inventory assessment that is looking at all of our water and sewer, and will eventually, early results of that shows that we have problems on the horizon, which means they're already here, right? We just gotta figure out how to address them. And so, the second part of that is going to be the PAL bill, the roads. So you can't use PAL bill dollars to do two things. First, you can't use it to get an assessment in terms of your road network, what the condition of that road network is. Second, you can't use it to actually fix those water cuts. That's the math part of it. So, the conversation, we talked with Steve again, and the street guys, when was that, Jason, Tuesday? Was that Tuesday we had that PAL bill meeting?
Yeah.
So it was after our ELT meeting, I think, Tuesday. And so we went through, is that right, Carter? Was it Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
So the conversations is about how do we fund and what do we do? And so you'll find, like most cities, when you patch and repair, but you don't replace what's underneath it, then you have to continue to patch and repair until what you got is just a bunch of patches and repair that should have been replaced to begin with. So I think in the long run, once you get through this asset and inventory assessment and you have some type of game plan, you'll start to structure that even with the PAL bill dollars on roads and pipes. Case in point, Fair Street is in the city of Camden. I did a engineering assessment on the entire road network, 90 centerline street miles, to figure out the condition of those road miles. And so now it ranks those in terms of this is priority 1, this is 2, 3, 4, so forth and so on. And so you know that the most important road for someone is my road, the one in front of my house. And so now you have to say, well, wait a minute, we're not doing your road because this one is a greater priority based on the condition of it in terms of potholes and alligators and gatoring and all the kind of stuff at the base. So you do an engineering assessment, and it finds and it tells us what we already knew, that Fair Street was terrible. And so it ranked up here. So you get a rating from 1 through 100. Fair Street was rated an 11. Okay, so that tells you just how good it is. Now, once it's completely redone, it starts at 100 and it works backwards again, right? And so you could do this, there's all kinds of rhythms and patterns that you could look at. There's science to it. But that costs $90,000 for 90 centerline miles. Now what you run into is Fair Street was 11, it was terrible. And so I said, okay, we need to go ahead and get this paved. Now the water and sewer guys said, well, wait, don't do that. Because we gotta replace all those sewer pipes and water pipes under Fair Street. That makes perfect sense, right? But here's the deal. The paving guy and the water and sewer guy aren't communicating. So now we're getting ready to pave, and the water and sewer guy say, wait, thank goodness. Because if not, we'd have paved over it, then the water and sewer guys have to tear it up. So those things need to go hand in hand. So Steve, I asked Steve to reach out. He's not here, so we're gonna talk about him all we want, right? So, asked him to reach out to our regional engineers with the DOT, and so that they could possibly train him or others to do what's called a PACES assessment. It's a paving condition assessment. It is really not, it's visual, it's observational, it's not testing in terms of the strength or anything like that. That would be ASTM. But it's a way to rack and stack the priority of your roads. If we do that, then we'll be able to compare that with the water and sewer infrastructure, the water pipes, and get it to where they intersect. And now we've come up with some type of a plan. That is essentially why it's important to utilize the PAL bill dollars, but connect it to the water and sewer fees, so you start replacing those. They have to work together hand in hand. Also, not an overnight fix, but we will have that problem solved by day 40. No, tomorrow, I'm sorry, tomorrow. We'll have it solved by, right, Carla? We'll have it solved by tomorrow.
Oh, God.
So, but we are working on it. And I think that I don't want to preach, I don't want you to think that I'm preaching, but that is the purpose of the board, right? That's what you do. You have to be provided information and figure out, now I'll take a lot of hits for this, I know that, but you have to figure out what it means to provide higher quality services for the town of Spring Lake that are sustainable and makes sense, okay? The minutia stuff and the things like that, that's important, but maybe it's not as important as other things. So I hope that that speaks to that. It's just something that, yes, you need a better plan, and we're working on the plan. Hopefully we will get that plan tomorrow. But I will promise you that it is a high priority to look at everything from our assets that are underground. We don't want them to become liabilities. They want them to be assets, because that leads to our economic development. The second component of that is the sewer. And I know that, I don't know if we talked a lot about this, but I want to take an opportunity, now that you bring that up, this is a perfect way for me to segue and make we have that conversation. The sewer system, we currently have on the books a system development fee that we need to charge. All right, so if you hook into our sewer, think about a new house or a new building. If you hook into our sewer, you're only able to do that because everybody else paid for that sewer capacity. If they didn't, you wouldn't be able to hook into it. The capacity wouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to purchase your fair share of that capacity. And the reason you purchase your fair share of that capacity, because in the long run, as more and more people plug into that, capacity goes down, and you have to expand your plant. So it becomes one of these things of pay me now, pay me later, but those who've already paid shouldn't have to pay again for somebody else not to have to pay. And it's this whole circular, follow the money, circular argument where the money is. And so I think that that's another critical piece about how do we work out this CIP, how do we work out the capital planning, how do we work out the asset inventory, and structure that to where we're maintaining a system. So anybody wants to talk about a 5% water increase, okay, that's anywhere from $2 to $9 a month, depending on what your usage is. It's a usage fee. You should start and go backwards and go, well, what if they not maintain? What are you willing to pay to fix it when it's broke? That's what this is about. It's about planning for those things and those horizons. And so you can't keep the rates low and fix stuff. What you do is you keep the rate low and you don't fix anything. Next thing you know, it's all broke again. So that's a bigger global picture. I don't think that I think that we've taken the appropriate action right now based on the rate study with the rate increases. I think that Powell bill is what we get. We had right around, I can't remember the number now, it seems like they were 48 cases of where we were supposed to use Powell bill dollars to make fixes and repair. And our staff has only accomplished about 24 of them, but they have told me that they will finish the rest of those by the end of this month for the new fiscal year. Because if you don't, it limits how much Powell bill payments you get.
Right.
So it's that, chasing that, you gotta do to get.
So, I just want to piggyback on that concept of what you said about rate increases. That same concept can be applied to your taxes overall. We have increases in our taxes because we have to fix things. We don't increase taxes, we can't fix things get worse, and then we're in a terrible situation. So I just wanted to identify that connection of, yeah, we're talking about, water, sewer rates, but this is your taxes overall. We increase so that we can maintain. We're not just trying to get more money, and contrary to popular belief, I hate to hear, oh, you're trying to replace the money that was stolen before, or you're trying to compensate for what happened before. This is not, has nothing to do with anything or any one person, any administration. It's just maintenance and maintaining our town. That's it.
I was reading Facebook with all of its infinite wisdom last night, and they said they've hired a new manager now in South Carolina. So I will be visiting with them, I think it's next Thursday. I have to onboard this new manager. I have to ride him around and show him stuff. You know what I mean? We're gonna give him a briefing. So I'm gonna go down there and help him. I committed to do that when I left. And so now his face is in the paper, so forth and so on. And they go, well, he's replacing Rory, what have you. And then someone says, well, why'd they hire Rory from out of town instead of somebody in town? Right? It's a common discussion, somebody local versus somebody out of state or whatever. And they said, well, they hired, and I'm not bragging, they said they hired Rory to find millions, and he did. That was the Facebook statement. Well, it's entirely not true. Right? I had to recover from a $6 million loss in fund balance. That's what I had to do. I didn't just create millions for the sake of creating millions. They had given away $6 million in fund balance, and now you got to recover. Our bond rating was in jeopardy. Everything, the general fund jeopardy. We were moving from the utility fund, the equivalent of 50 mills on our tax rate, $2 million from the utility fund to the general fund. And so if the fund balance utility fund takes a dip by $6 million, now you can't move that $2 million over to the general fund that pays for cops, fires, governing body, finance, all this stuff. You see the problem? It's follow the money. So this is about making sure that we are fiscally healthy to respond and react to the express needs and desires of our community. That's what it's about. It's not about just adding to the coffers. It's about being able to do something. See something, say something. You had a comment about, when you do something and people expect to see it, they want to see action, right? So there's an app out there, Sonia and I talked about it. There's an app out there called See, Click, Fix. See, Click, Fix, See, Click, Fix. And so they go, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we take and do the app, See, Click, Fix, See, Click, Fix? It's because we don't have the capacity to fix it. Why would we create a tool to see, click, and then we can't click? I don't want to do that. And so she gets it, we understand. So I did an app that we called it Camden Connect, and it was so that residents could communicate with us and say, here's a pothole here, here's there. But when they did that, it said, hey, we will either address this issue within 10 days, or we will provide you feedback of why we can't address this issue. So I would get a picture of this house, blighted house, and so it went directly to whoever could address that issue. It didn't have to go through all this bureaucratic craziness, right? It is inappropriate for the board to contact the fire chief, police chief, well, not the clerk, the finance department, and tell them what to do.
Any staff.
Okay?
outside
It's
us.
inappropriate. But if that board member or any citizen had an app that they see this house is in terrible disarray, they're riding around. They take a picture, and guess who it's routed to automatically?
The person needs to go
Can we
to.
get one?
And who would that be? Nope.
No, the.
Code enforcement. And so code enforcement now don't have to ride around and hunt for it. You done did that for them. Now you taking consent, what they can actively do with their 24 hours, not ride around. They know where to go.
Exactly.
So there's value in that kind of stuff. So I hope to implement that too.
Yes.
Um,
I know Miss Crystal will love that. She always
I
knows.
just don't, but the problem with it is, you can't do a C-click fix, but you can do it where our residents, our taxpayers, our folks can communicate with us, but we have to be upfront and honest with them. That don't mean we can just fix it.
Right,
And so, it would come with a note. Sometimes I would go online as a manager and say, look, I get this, you know, because I saw all of them,
Mhm.
and say, I get this, but you really can't take this quick reaction on it.
Yes.
And so, if people would understand, you know, they wanna cut the bushes out apart. Okay, we'll get it, right? We just can't stop everything we're doing.
But data collection is of the utmost
Yeah,
importance. We
yeah.
only got a few eyes and ears,
Yeah.
but if we can get the community involved to help us create and prioritize a task list on what we need to get done, like, Mr. Rory said, we may not be able to get to it immediately, but now it helps us prepare, it helps us prepare financially, because now we know we need to start watching these problem areas, keeping eyes out for funding or expense cuts to take care of that, so please get that, like, look at this guy.
What is that, the app?
No, that's not the app.
Oh,
This is John, Jesus being John and preaching.
Oh, prioritizing. What is it?
you got, I think you got.
And there's always a story, right? But,
Yeah.
yeah, there should be enough of them. This means nothing, in the grander scheme of things, but it's how I have to do stuff. So if you call me at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're not gonna get an answer. Okay? If you email me at 8 o'clock in the morning, you'll get an answer. But it'll be after 4, okay, or after 3. Because I can't stop doing everything we're doing globally for the community to deal with your single most important issue that's to you. All right, so I have to prioritize. So what I did was, and I've used this before, the story I like to tell about this one is, what the top page comes from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it talks about quadrants that you spend your time in. And so you have to ask yourself, where should you spend most of your time, 1, 2, 3, or 4? And should you spend your time on things that are important and urgent, or should you spend your time on things that are a waste, not important and not urgent? So we should spend our time as employees, all right, looking at Facebook, right? I did last night. Damn, I just admitted that.
You weren't on the clock, it's fine.
Time waster.
It is.
Is a time waster. There are people that get so wrapped up in that stuff. And so the only reason I want to share you, and there's 3 different versions of it there, by the way. They're all similar, they're the same. Is that how that we have to do this as staff. Some things are not important and not urgent. Other things are urgent and important. But we should spend most of our time planning, not just reacting. So we need to be thinking about, I think the board, the staff, we need to have our weekly meetings, we need to be focused on not being the silos of the fire department, or the police department, or the public works department, but the, what y'all have referred to as the Spring Lake Way, right? And what does that mean? It means that we need to come together and tear down those walls and start thinking about how we're gonna spend our time focusing on quadrant 2, planning, thinking, all right? So, you didn't know it, and maybe I trapped you, that wasn't my intent, but when I sent you the email to say, hey, tell me what you wanna do, it's so I can prepare, I can give you information, right? Now, where we go with that is still up to you. The reason that email went out that way, tell me what you wanna talk about, and we will have some courageous conversations, and we will move the ball. All right, we can't move the ball by hiding the ball. We gotta know what's out front there, and we gotta think about it, we gotta be moving in that direction. So I just wanted to share that with you so that folks know, not only our citizens, is that the quickest way to get to me is an email, not a phone call. But in either way, I don't just stop what I'm doing, because I'm doing stuff that's real quadrant two. That's where I'm trying to spend my time, instead of all that stuff that's urgent for some one person. Another one of those, comes from me, it's another Roryism. Service to all means service to no one.
I like that.
Service to all means service to no one. That's one, you know.
Single person, one
Yes.
single entity.
Service to all. So then we talk about equity, fairness, fair, firm, friendly. So I wanted to share that with you in terms of the apps. Yes, we'll do it, we'll look at it, but at the end of the day, it's 8:37.
That's only 1/4 of a,
We're on it.
quarter of the.
I like the way you think it. That's right. That's 25% of 1 penny, right? I like the way you think it. I like the way you think it. Sorry, I had to throw that one in there. I don't know if y'all, the backstory to this, when I was promoted to captain in the fire department, there were 2 things I had to do as part of my assessment. The chief already made his decision. He just wanted to see if I could follow through. He made me take Covey's 7 Habits and convert it into a training program for the entire fire department. That was one of the things I had to do to be promoted to captain. And then I had to present it to the entire fire department. So I have got the CDs, I got all that stuff. The second thing is I had to figure out how to take and convert all of our engines or buy new engines with compressed air foam. So I had both the capital piece and had a training piece. I was already going to be the captain. He just made me go through, he already knew that. He just made me do that to prove that I was going to be the captain. And that's what I did. That's where the 7 Habits come from.
So,
Fair story.
I want to do a 5-minute recess, because we still got some time to be here. Give us 5 minutes, take a break, stretch your legs, use the bathroom, get some water. Recess, 5 minutes. Is the days on here, I just rip my pants? Oh, Lord. Good.
He's only been here 30 minutes.
I'm trying to take all this time so that we can streamline. Right?
Oh, wow, that's why I'm great. That's,
You know,
this is
we can
perfect.
Get out of there and streamline.
Let's continue.
Get me some coffee.
That's cool shirt.
So that, that's
You
my.
here to get?
Go ahead, no, Mike, go ahead. I was thinking.
There to see what
This
this
is like
tax is.
I was
But yeah, I can get with you. It was a good time for break because.
Perfect. Oh, you got enough? No, you're fine. Yours. I'm sorry. Halfway through the club. Where did these helmets come from? Because they are, I don't know. I know, you got them out of this box. Yes, because I said, oh, this ain't no Dunkin' Donuts. Where did these come from? Anyone? Who brought these? John. Oh, I'm sorry, you're so busy.
Those are Granny's
Brandy?
in Aberdeen.
Oh my gosh.
I knew they weren't Dunkin'.
As soon as I said, oh, this is not a Dunkin' Donut.
I've been eating them since I was young. Not that you could tell or anything. But I've been eating. Yeah, they're great. They're great.
They are
They're
delicious.
great.
I'll make it out another time. We just took the last one. Them donuts are. John brought it from Africa. If you don't get one, you can eat them donuts. Over here talking to the room.
I saw it, that's what we gotta show. So they should probably go up to, she wanted me to know, but we ain't. I don't think so. And so, the focus not has to do with getting them out here. Focus is working on that. So, Greg, I think you're I said, you here, but these, one of the schools that you can
Oh, now you want some coffee, ma'am?
I did. I'm trying to stay away from it.
Man,
Family, that's last night.
so if you took know it, then I'm looking for other people. So yeah, we'll talk about all of this. That's why she should have said 6 minutes, that way everybody got 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute apiece, we already over our 5 minutes. Jeans and sneakers.
Maybe next time. Because it's that just jump. People need to see not as bored, they need to see responsibility. And
Residents as humans, and this affects us too. That's why I keep saying over and over, every chance I get to that's why I said, don't go back. It's a moment where you have to be what you do. Because this happens in effort, this type of engagement during your budget work session, during the meeting.
It's chilly in here.
That makes total sense. It's palatable.
go hire somebody.
So you're, oh my God, you're doing it. Here we go. This is going, and people are staying engaged online. I don't think I've ever seen 2 people watching us from YouTube all at one time. Never. They're watching. They're actually.
What you got? Oh, you got Dunkin' Donut.
I'm gonna try one of those specialty granny ones. Is that blueberry?
All right, if y'all got a second, go ahead and jump on social media and share the live stream so we can try and see if we get some more citizens engaged. I know Spring Lake Matters probably loves that.
And it'll give me time to actually eat a donut.
What'd you say?
Which mine? It's on the NLC opioids, so when they show on the dashboard. Some of them got 16 million. People got 1.6 million. Yeah, where's the money? Go get me.
How am I doing?
Your soft skills are great. Your soft skills.
Are they really?
Yeah,
Are you being serious? Or are you
I'm being serious. I'm following you.
You know the background?
Yeah.
It's there.
What?
Right there on the desk.
All right, we ready, guys?
Do you need another drink or you good?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Well, let me know what you do.
Oh, you said you were. All right. We are now calling this meeting back to order and time yielded to Manny.
Back to,
Mr. Lapp.
Our alderman,
You.
One of those, yeah, yeah.
That guy.
And so, other than the Manchester, my next one is dealing with the water department. When Andrew Boyle was up here and talking in regards to water bills and that there was $1.2 million worth of uncollected funds, 900 appeared to be was the cause of delinquent water bills. As we go forward here, we talk about what 1 cent equates to. Now we're looking at, it was identified to us, but there was no plan, there was no, other than just informing the board that.
I don't know if we have extra for this one.
So,
I have extra.
so are we doing anything in regards to that 900,000 to collect, to offset, to bring back to the coffers, to help our residents?
that's gonna be it. So the first thing is to identify what is eligible for debt sell. And so the revenue department has been working on that. And so I'm not picking on, well, I'm picking on her, she's not here. The, Renee, I'm not picking on her, so if she's watching, hey Renee, I'm not picking on you, I'm picking on you. So, Renee has been working on trying to gather all that information and get it together. And so, just Tuesday, she said, John, I'll get it to you tomorrow. I promise you I'll finish it tomorrow. There's that tomorrow. I said, this is the third tomorrow I've heard. So I got this yesterday afternoon late. Okay, so we're trying to work on that. We've at least identified what needs to be put into debt set-off. And you'll see some of it's associated with like connects and the COVID responses, that kind of stuff. But that's the first step. Now, those numbers that don't, in total, we'll have to figure out where we're at on that and how we can go to collect those things. But at least now we've identified and separated the debt set off. Because I think it was 1.2 million, so the delta on that now looks like it's gonna be $400,000 or $500,000.
instead of the 1.2 million?
Yes.
Debt
So
set off
now we'll be
5,
seeking
5, 8,
collection on
7,
roughly 500,000.
Okay, oh, okay.
Okay, and so the other, we would do debt set off for 791, 215, if I read this correct. Okay, so I got it yesterday afternoon. So this is what we're working on. We're trying to do it. We gotta clean that up. We can't just not do anything, right? We gotta clean it up, and we gotta work through it. And so the second page, speaks to another question that I've asked, and we briefly discussed on the 29th about meter replacements. So, it should be our goal to convert all of our meters to auto read, not ride by, get out, read it. So we should be thinking about how do we convert that to auto read. Now, what that means is not necessarily that you don't have meter readers. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you invest in that technology, now you can reallocate those dollars to something that can be done, right? And so the meter readers now can participate in more of our green and clean initiative. So that, it's how do you allocate those resources that's important. You gotta look at that. What if we don't do this? What if we do this? And what, those types of questions. So that was the reason why I requested that information, because I wanna know, did you know, I think you mentioned earlier about our ordinances. Did you know that our law has written in it that our goal is to replace 10% of our meters a year?
No.
That's written in our code of ordinances.
I didn't.
Oh, wow.
So, you have to ask yourself a question. If that's written in our law, what are we doing? Right? What are we doing? So, it's the other, big question that you gotta ask yourself. So, I didn't know if you knew that or not, but I
Yeah,
do.
well, my question.
I think that's interesting.
What we're talking about the water department, and I think it was in mine, I forgot. Are we gonna implement a convenience fee that that makes it so we don't have to absorb the fee? Yeah.
It's already done.
Oh, okay, so.
Yeah, that has been included in this budget as well.
Okay.
And so you will see that is on page 16 of 30, FS, page 16 of 30. At the very top, you'll notice highlighted in red, it says convenience fee, $4.50 per loan. I think it's currently $150, and I hate saying this, I think that's a 300% increase.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, just off the top of my
It
head.
was $1.50.
Because, let me read this to you. It's a good thing that y'all ask me questions, so I can give you responses. This is a email from Monday the 27th, the holiday when I was working, going back and forth. Waiting on Sylvia to provide credit card convenience fee increase. The fee for accepting credit cards for payments have grown significantly. Fiscal year 24 budget, $95,400. Okay? Fiscal year 23 actuals was $39,536. Now we gotta think about the deltas on this. Our credit card convenience fee revenue to date is $28,000 versus $95,000 cost. In other words, we have no choice.
Yeah, we're eating a significant
$60,000.
cost. Wow.
So, that's kind of, I hope that answered your
Yeah,
question.
so we should
Work on it.
have done that
Long time ago.
years ago.
Yes, yes. And so what happens is I don't know how to, we gotta look at this stuff
That is
diligently.
only for credit cards, by phone, debit cards.
Yes,
that kind of
online
thing.
transactions.
If you mail in your payment, if you set it up on automatic payments, those services are free.
Right.
There's no fee for doing any of that.
Right.
Good point.
Great.
You can convert to this option and not do anything,
So
right?
auto pay,
Not
save
cost you.
you
Yeah, I don't pay.
$4.50 a month.
There's still some generational issues with that. A lot of people just don't do it, but,
Yeah, we
it
still have
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Rory, what you're really saying here is I'm looking at the revenue department collection. Since FY 17-18, we're allocating over 2 cents, as you talk about, what 1 penny is equal to. And this is good for folks to.
I like the way you're thinking.
So, on average here, there's that big $139,000 number, but the rest is kind of approximately 2 pennies that's being allocated by the residents here for the water department, just for the collections.
Yes.
This is not anything else other than just the debt that is off there, so it's a big deal.
And I like it.
And it's not, you
When we
didn't put it in
think
the
in that
budget this
sense.
year.
That's it.
You didn't put those 2 pennies in the budget in revenue, right? I don't remember
No,
seeing that.
that's the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're on water revenue thing.
But I like the way that you present this, I like the thinking that's done. Chief Williams is even smiling there.
We hear it every day, so yeah.
Stop! Have y'all ever heard Jason say, stop? Stop! We're having some good times too.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think it's all terrible, but anyway, I want to take and draw your attention to something else too. Since we did get into the old ordinance provision about changing the meters. I didn't make a copy for you. It's something, I don't think I did I?
I don't know.
No, I didn't. I didn't make a copy of it for it. So my point with this one is that, so the goal, code of ordinances, right, business in general, there is our law, copy straight off of our webpage. And it talks about taxes, business licenses, okay? The levying of the tax, the thing. We don't do this. It's in our law, but we don't do it. What we do is, and I don't know how we got here, Jason and I talked briefly about it, but every business has to register with a $25 fee, okay? So I asked the question, well, how's that working? Basic question, right? Well, what's happening? So we build out 339 businesses at $25. We've collected from 158. We have outstanding 181. So what do we do?
Gotta put some meat behind it, right?
Now, what do you do? So it's just another example of what the policy committee, our ordinance, the things that we need to look at. And so the whole reason for this one was business licenses are usually regulated by a code enforcement officer. So if you don't have a code enforcement officer, there's nobody to follow up on paying these bills,
There's nothing in the ordinance that says what we do, it just says it should be unlawful,
you know? So,
and then that's it.
But, so I do have a question. You say you have to have, this registration. Would that, how would we handle, like, food trucks that do business in town, or?
well, let me tell you how we handle it. So that's why I stopped the mayor earlier. Okay, I said, let's come back to that one, right? So, if you want to have $20,000 for First Friday or special events or whatever you want to be, okay? Veterans Memorial Day is an example. All of these different things, you need some way of funding those things, right? Nothing's free, right? So, on page 16 of 30, this has become a pretty valuable page, actually, right? You'll see the business registration fee down there at $25. Then you'll see a special event permit fee at $100. What you don't see is my note that says special event vendor fee, question mark.
Right.
Okay? Now, the reason for that is, it is difficult for me to reconcile that a business that sells hamburgers, right, pays a business registration fee of $25. Their pro forma may be millions, I don't know, okay, but they pay $25. But then, we would allow Hamburgers R Us to set up a vending truck in front of their establishment. They're paying property taxes, sales taxes, and a business registration fee. At a minimum, this food truck has to be inspected, evaluated, things of this nature.
Yes.
So it's not about the special event to me. It's about how we're allowing people to come in and compete with our bricks and mortar businesses. And so that is something that should be handled through our zoning provisions. In a lot of cases, it is. What that fee should be, I don't know. Something at a minimum, it should be equal to what the business registration fee is. Now, keep in mind, what does that mean for the Girl Scouts lemonade stand? Right? So we had the mural. I made it a point to go to those girls there and get a Gatorade and a hamburger. I made it a point to spend my money because they were there. There was another funnel cake or something there. But they even talked to somebody about, man, they would give me a funnel cake. Well, I did. Yeah, I did get a funnel cake. Like I need a funnel cake. But made a point. So you got to think about that when you think about these business registration fees and what the impact is. And somebody would say, well, where are you going to go? Go kick the Girl Scouts out selling lemonade? No, I ain't going to be that stupid, right? But you got to be real. And so you got to think about what this is. nobody's talking about regulating lemonade stands.
Well, we
Okay.
kinda are, if we look at our ordinance, we have a peddler's license. There is a $15 peddler's license, engaging in the business of traveling from place to place with an inventory of goods, selling the goods at retail or offering goods for sale at retail, and delivering the identical goods that are carried with person prior approval by the police department must be obtained. So there is a $15 peddler's license, for lemonade stand or food truck or whatever, but when we're doing it at a special event, the same way parking fees at a, what's those things called? No, what's the thing?
Parking garage?
Parking garage.
Where you park, those are parking
Yes.
fees where you park.
So a parking garage may have a $1 fee to park there at any day, $15 peddler's license. However, special events, they crank that price up to $20. Now, our peddler's license for a special event is deemed by whatever that special event mandates.
Yeah, okay.
So my point
Okay,
was,
37.
so,
I'm not picking on, I get it. You see, these are the global broad things that you gotta think about. And when you isolate it to one single issue, you gotta go, okay, well, wait a minute. So the peddler's license, the business registration fee, the special event permit, how does all of that cook, and how does all that generate the revenue to you have the events?
so I now have to look to see, directly, but, if it specifies, but our businesses are classified as brick and mortars.
Mhm.
And the peddler's license, like it says specifically, is they're bringing their,
I took my
things with them.
EMT 6 weeks with some special forces medics over here on Pope Air Force Base a long time ago. And the highlight of the day was around 9 to 10 somewhere.
When that
This
truck came.
This truck would pull up, and it was
The
like,
gut truck.
that was
The
my
gut
first,
truck.
yes, that was my first experience of a food truck. Now they cook that stuff in front of you, right? So they would have it cooked, they would ride up. I don't know if it was any good. I mean, it was good, but I don't know about Class A or, all the stuff that they opened by, but it was good. So those are continuous things that we need to think about. So with that, you said you want 20,000 for special event. How are we gonna pay for it?
Sponsorships.
All right.
So we
So-
have sponsors
so-
lined up already.
What happens if I put it in the budget as a sponsorship and we don't have the sponsorships? So where do I plug it in the budget? I wanna argue with you.
I want to argue with you because I want to get
I'm
this
not
right.
fussing, right?
I know, I want to get it right
Okay,
though.
so you would have if you have a sponsorship, that sponsorship should be in some form of a donation.
Mhm.
That donation should be accepted by the board. That donation can be accepted by the board in a blanket resolution, okay? And so then it would have to be accounted for here so that you could spend it here. So the problem with donations coming into the general fund, they're typically not reserved for a special event. So you have to create that. And so there's where you have to go to your finance director and say, we need to make sure we do this right.
Yes.
Because you're gonna have to worry about all the books, all the bookkeeping, all the things that come up with it. So, completely supportive as long as we do it right. So you're not suggesting that I take now, put $20,000 from general fund dollars, taxes, into it? Are you suggesting creating a line
Yes.
for donations?
I am
for
suggesting
20,000?
creating a line
Okay.
for donations to support First Friday on May. It doesn't have, I don't want any general fund dollars spent on this, but we've got community business owners lined up to pay for this. This is, and I'm not well versed in the specifics, but this is how it was done before when we did Spring Fling. It wasn't,
I did look up that too on the budget. and see the
So-
spring money.
so it was there before, and it was
Mhm.
subsidized by community sponsorships and donations. It wasn't a town expense, and I want to restart that the same way, so that the town isn't paying for it, the community is.
So
receiving it.
I put down here on this page, you can't see it, okay, because it's not in the budget. So I will put something in here. I will talk to the finance director and talk about how's the best vehicle to do that with 159 and gap crap and, GASB 68, 400 or whatever, I don't know, okay? But we'll figure out the best way to do that.
Right.
That's appropriate.
So when we talk about that with finance, can we, because I know, I can't rationalize adding vendors and food trucks to our fee schedule. So would that be just added as an additional revenue source in that line versus adding it to our fee schedule?
I think you'd have to have some way of charging a fee for that as part of the special event. It could be part of the special event permit, but the next thing you know, the special event permit's $300. And so now, if, you probably wouldn't wanna take and do a $25 business registration to do a vendor fee for a special event if you're only gonna sell lemonade.
Right.
It may not be a good ROI. I'll think on that one. I don't know, we'll talk with them and try to get the revenue set and then the fee for people to participate. I'm gonna go off track. So we have two things that are going on right now in my mind, mentally. Georgia, we had this group that come to us and said, we want to work through the recreation department and create an event called Night Market. It was a hugely popular event, and it was held in a park, okay? And so, we took and said, okay, we'll support you through the rec department. What do we need to do to get this started? And so they said, well, we need police department, okay? We need fire department, okay? We need bathrooms, okay? We need public works, okay? So it's new. We're gonna figure out what we're gonna do. And I says, okay, but in order to go forward, now I'm the manager, in order to go forward, you're gonna have to register as a nonprofit. And they went, okay, we'll do this. So that way now we can use public dollars and collaborate public-private, but it's with a nonprofit, right? Not a profit.
Right.
We went forward and they came back to us and said, well, our attorney told us not to, register as a nonprofit, we should register as a profit. And I went, okay, then this is a game changer, right? Now all of a sudden, we're giving away public resources for a for-profit, and we're not gonna do that. So you gotta be charged for police, fire, public works, the bathroom set up, the tables and chairs, everything. So this is changing as part of the special event process when I'm there. And next thing you know, then you'll have, I land in South Carolina. And all of that works well, and then you get to South Carolina, and now we have a nonprofit that's wanting free police, free fire, free public works, so forth and so on. And so we go, really? This is an event that has 5,000 people come to it, right? So what happens is that you can register as a nonprofit, think the American Red Cross, and pay your CEO out of the funds for that nonprofit. So the CEO of the nonprofit, if you will, is getting paid by getting free services. The more he gets free from the town, police, fire, public works, the more they get, their bottom line changes, and the more the CEO gets. So we put a screeching halt to that.
So,
No free fire, no free public works, no free police, no free nothing, because it's not free at cost.
so what you, in the event realm, what I've seen across the spectrum be done is that when you are providing sponsorship like that, if it's in the form of dollars, you restrict it, and you make sure you specify that these are not used for operational expenses. You'll see a lot in event with sponsorships like that. You can't pay for food allocations, so I can't go and buy dinner or whatever. If I'm doing a brunch, I can't buy the food for the brunch. I can't pay operational costs, so you're not allowed to use this money to pay your staff. It's for the purchases of goods or services, to bring in a particular entertainment, those rooms, but you can't use it to pay salary.
We have, most of the dollars that we supported came from tourism dollars or CVB, Convention Visitors Bureau, and usually they were geared toward marketing.
Yes, CVBs are normally geared towards marketing, our county.
I just want to throw that out there, we're talking about an event by the city.
Right.
Receiving donations, but we can't now in kind provide free services. We gotta be very, very clear about what we're gonna do for all.
Just making sure and that has to be in there, that they are not, because then you've got a nonprofit who is operating dual roles. I'm operating as the president and as the CEO. And I'm taking this funds in and I'm paying myself. So that's why you specifically put in there that these funds can't be used to pay staff.
Good. Sorry, I segued way out of that, now I was right back to the deal
Yeah,
first.
that's okay.
Is that okay with the special events? And-
Absolutely.
All right, because I passed by you.
Yep.
And then I said, okay, here's the
We're
chance to
good.
come back. All right.
So I have a question about that then. Are you saying that without sponsorships, without the town receiving money, that we will not have First Friday? on-
Yes, if we don't have the funds, then we can't host the events. So,
I understand.
How are we handling staff, Ms. Rory, for that? How are we gonna are we utilizing staff and how are we gonna handle that?
We're gonna put a red gun in Jason, or a blue one. Those are their training guns. They're made out of rubber, by the way. They don't shoot. And so we're gonna have Jason be a public safety officer.
so, let me give you a real answer. So in that $20,000, payment for staff is included. So it's not just, we're not asking for free stuff. A part of the $20,000 budget pays the fees for police, fire, EMS, public works, bathrooms, entertainment. It's all right. It's a comprehensive budget that we're not, again, I don't want it to cost the town a dime. So.
But they're still getting paid.
They will still be getting paid, and that's all inclusive in that budget,
So what months are we talking about?
from July to November.
20,000 for 6 months?
November is,
Shoulder season month. but-
yeah, it's.
Yeah, no,
weather
I'm just
permitting,
thinking,
But absolutely.
I was just thinking that's a small amount of money, is what I was thinking, less than.
A 5,000 for a street event? Absolutely, that's sufficient budget.
What is it? Jason,
What'd you
Jason,
say, Jason?
little over 3,000,
how many pennies is that?
Yes. Trust me.
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
The key is just making sure that we do it right. If you, we'll work on it. We'll keep moving on it. That's the whole special event policy that we need to be
Right,
focused on.
right.
Just a question on that, now, when you do that, now, when you have, again, we'll go back to your vendor fees, that all rolls back into that same line?
Now, vendor, that's what I was asking. He's gonna check with finance on that
I
part.
was saying, that if people come in and pay
Right.
Yes.
food trucks, and everything, that should go right back. into
That
the-
revenue's not even accounted for in
That's what I'm
that
saying,
20,000,
that's
so
what
that's
they'll do.
additional revenue.
Right.
Now
That
it's
20,000
yeah.
is specifically allocated for,
Personnel.
yeah,
So only 3,000 per event, and that would include the cost of the band and, okay, got it.
so, and that's not including
Okay.
food trucks or vendor fees.
Got it, okay. Now it makes sense.
All right, fair enough.
All right.
Were you finished?
I'm done, Mayor.
All right. Alderman Palacios.
Tap it out.
I did see the line items for the citizen committees that we have,
Mhm.
so I appreciate that being included. That'll mean a great deal to our committees. They've been needing that money for a while, so thanks for that. I did want us to pick up a new initiative, well, I should say revisit a new initiative, Adopt a Street program. I think we should have that in our miscellaneous fee schedule. And after doing some math, it came out to $150 per Adopt a Street. And that would, include the signage, the equipment, things like that. So, I don't know if we would even need to create a line item for that in the budget, but at least create the fee schedule. And the only reason I say the line item in the budget is because I don't think, do we have one for the banner program? In the, I know there's
Fee
a
schedule.
fee.
Yeah, it's in the
There's the
It's just in
fee,
the
but
fee
is it
schedule, it's not.
in, what,
The banner program, I thought went through planning.
It did.
Yeah, went through planning.
And so. a
I
line
just
item-
missed that, that's all.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible, isn't it?
Right.
I've been fussing with Carly all week about I can't tab it, I can't find anything. I haven't been fussing.
Banner program.
I saw it, yeah,
It
military
is
banner,
Where do you,
750.
you budgeted.
It's in the-
7520.
It's under streets non-power bill.
Yeah.
I don't know what page that's on, but it's under streets power bill.
okay, I found it, page 82.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so the Adopt a Street program, I imagine would fall under the streets budget as well. And of course, that's only paid out if you receive those sponsorship fees of streets. So if we can get something for that going, and I estimate, maybe 6 streets, honestly, at most, which is a little under $1,000.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
What I'm hearing is we just simply add the 150, whatever the map is, for an adopted street, and assume it's gonna be 6. And so here's the fee, the program in there, what would that be, 150?
A little under 1,000, but.
Yeah, just add it in the same way. Cause see, that was my thinking with the litter control fee.
Yes, so I wanted to ask about that too.
Yeah, that way, who creates the litter also becomes part of the solution. It's not a lot, right? It's not a lot, but I think that's the way you generate the revenue for the adopted street, for the, even the banners, those types of things. The park cleanup, different stuff. I think that's just important, to have some way of funding that. Although, yes, we appreciate everybody. You gotta have a way to get them water, bottled water, when you're out walking, doing the streets, the little picker-uppers, the bags, that's not free. So that's what I'm thinking about with that litter control. You'll fund those types of supplies. And so that fee should go into a line that is now an expense line.
So that's what I also did find was the litter fee, where that's allocated. Is that under streets as well, or?
Or is it here?
You didn't find it because we didn't put it in there, so.
Okay.
Noted.
I got one.
And I'm not prepared to give you a piece of paper. Noted.
All right, thank you.
Over there?
I briefly mentioned to you the other night, so we just got the 3,000 from the Arts Council. We are expecting the municipal allocation yearly that we get 4,000, so that'll bring the Arts Council up to 7,000 for the year. And of course, that's only paid out when we get the money.
Right.
Then I did have a question about the strategic services under administration. Can you shed more light on that?
Yeah, if I can look at the
I'm sure
line.
that was one that was probably already in there.
Yeah, I didn't put it in there. Timing wise. I have a feeling
Was that,
that HR and some stuff with Jason maybe. Where you at?
Page 14 of
14.
general fund.
It's under the administration.
Right, it should be a line item accounting for that. Professional services, strategic services. You always,
Isn't that like Paul Meyer or strategic planning?
yeah, there's always some need for the board, to have something looked at on an annual basis. That actually would be considered kind of low. I don't think that it's actually earmarked for this person to do that for this.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you have professional services, contract services. So in this case, it's professional services. There's something in the line that we can deal with if I needed to take and do some type of,
Strategic planning.
engineer, some type of assessment. In this case, for example, if we were gonna do something for pay and classification, we would probably put that either in the HR budget or the administration budget to the tune of about $40,000, $50,000. So this is relatively, that's what it would be for.
Yeah,
I don't have
I
it
think we
written.
had used it for the strategic plan we
We
did
did.
last year.
Yes. We also used legal funds for that. We did a budget amendment, and we had to use some of our legal funds. We had $1,000 left over that hadn't been used. And so we did a budget amendment to move some of those funds over to take care of our strategic plan.
Okay. Can I ask you just to move over one line on that sheet?
Yeah.
And see what it says apparel for
I
admin?
told you, that's $300.
I got it. I got it.
I told you.
I saw,
I got it.
I saw that when you said, I got you.
Yes. Yeah, I got it. Okay.
I had a really quick question. I know when we interviewed you, you talked about always wanting to have the 5% for fund balance.
Yes.
Is this in here? Is that what the plan is here as well?
No.
We don't have the
Um,
room for
Let me go to your first summary of the budget for the general fund. The very first page gives you the summary of all the general funds, after all this fee schedule stuff and what have you. And then I'm gonna ask you to turn to the back page of it. So go to GF2 of 97. And look at the bottom down there. Total fund balance, unaudited, 423,245,440.
Yep.
5% of fund balance is equivalent to 212, which would mean 5 cents on the tax rate. All right, so I requested that information, that's why you see it here. Because your fund balance always needs to be growing, not declining. Okay, so always needs to be growing, not declining. But once you get it to that point that we've talked about, 30%, 35, 45, preferably 50%. So if you think in terms of the general fund being $12 million, and you think, so we want to get a fund balance eventually to $6 million, we're still short, unaudited at $4 million. So you're wanting to be adding to that every year. So there's two things that we do. They don't know it yet, but they will know now. So July 1st, you're going to have the adoption of the new budget. Every department head will sign a contract with me as a town manager to come in under budget by 2%. So now if you have a $12 million general fund budget, and all the department heads have to come in under at 2% under. So what's that math? I don't know. I can't figure it out in my head. $240,000.
As long as it's bigger than 212, 272.
What's 1% of 12 million?
Oh,
120,000?
Okay. So what's what did I say? 1%? Yeah, 12 million. So 2% of 12 million is 240,000.
There we go.
There you go. Now look at the 5% tax rate and 5% fund balance.
That's what it says, as long as it's greater than 212, 272, then we're okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so I didn't increase the tax. I'm going to force the department heads
To come in
to
under
be
budget.
very, very effective on their budget so that we're not emptying buckets
Right.
in May and April and or whatever. Let's go buy some more
Money left,
pencils.
let's go, yeah,
Yeah,
spend.
let's go do this.
So are we
that's
incentivizing?
about 6 cents.
Are we incentivizing that?
Pat on back, kicking pants.
I got an idea.
The mayor's heard this. Y'all know the difference between pat on back and kicking pants? 18 inches. Okay, so, yeah. Yes, we will incentivize that, but not in a way where they, one of the things that I'm trying to look at is, it's atypical. Right now, when you look at like the sale of surplus, typically if you sell a surplus police car, what happens is it just goes back into the general fund and disappears.
Right.
I want the department heads to be cleaning up this mess instead of having it stocked over here at the laydown yard.
Right.
So if they sell a police car and they get $200, I would like the police department to be able to capture that $200 and then spend it in the police department, kind of like an impact fee, to where they can do it for more donuts or whatever. I'm sorry, I got to do it. It's already a long day. More donuts, but because see that encourages them to use the equipment, get the maximum life out of it, but not just throw it away. But sometimes the juice ain't worth the squeeze, and you just need to throw it away. But or you need to sell that asset as soon as you can get it out the door, so there's some type of residual value. And so you need, and the cars is a big one. I don't think the fire department has a lot, the fire department may run into it sometimes with like, SCBA's or something, but most of the time their hose is tested every year, so that, when their fire truck is spent, they might be able to sell that and get something out of it. That's a different animal. Public Works, their shovels are broke, they're broke. That's just all there is to it. So that's the only way you can incentivize it, other than saying, this is what you need to do. I can tell you that when they signed that contract, that agreement, as a department head, to come in at 2% under budget, right? The squawking's gonna be, when the fire truck breaks down, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I get it, right? So, you can't say that, we're gonna spend this much unless this happens. And so you're gonna have things like that happens, and so they won't be able to make that. But, it's kind of one-off. But the worst thing you can do, I think, is to, let everybody empty their buckets, right, at the end of the budget year, and not really have some true value on what that is in terms of ROI. That's all this is about. And so I think some will start talking about like waste and what have you. I understand that too, but still we need to know what's going on, and that's their job. And it's something we need to hold them accountable for, not us. So that's the short answer.
The schedule of fees for the fire department, there were no increases. Is that okay? Are we on par with those fees?
We increased them last year.
Okay, so we're good. All right.
Yes, sir.
Police didn't have any, did they? I didn't see any in police
We ain't
either.
got time.
I understand. What day are you on?
About 63 probably.
I don't want to speak to that.
Okay.
Just had that done about 60 days, 65.
And I want to be very careful with this. So the fee schedule that you see in the budget for the police department. Let's just read a couple of those, okay? I'm just randomly picking something out, not that that it matters.
18.
Thank you.
Loud noises by, 19 or 30. Loud noises by animals.
I had that last night.
That's a $50 what? Fee, citation, fine. Loud music, $50. All right, so, once again, very global, broad type thinking. Is it the purpose of the police department to generate revenue?
No.
No, it's not. It is the purpose of the police department to enforce the laws. However, those laws have to be appropriate laws, not just something that you do because you can do it, right? And so when I specifically chose not to do anything with the police department fees at this time, because I think that our entire fee schedule needs to be something that's much a broader discussion. So I dealt with the building because I know where we're at on that. But the police department doesn't exist, they're general fund operating, so it doesn't really generate revenue for them, right? So I don't want to get down to where Errol's sitting behind the billboard, creating a speed trap, to create the revenue for the department.
Right.
Now, when you take and write one of these citations, where does the money go?
School board, or is that just the speeding tickets?
I don't know, where's it
I know
go?
speeding tickets go to the school board.
Court costs and go to school board.
Oh.
So
You guys
So
be
that's not our
kidding me.
revenue. That's not our revenue,
these
that money
don't
goes,
come, these go to the school board for the.
not our fees. Our
Yeah.
fees come in-house, correct?
Are you talking about on the,
Yes, this citation.
for the?
Use of profanity. Yeah, I got to pull my.
No,
All right, let's go.
I believe,
no.
go ahead, let Aaron talk.
Okay, so you're talking about the ordinance, I thought you were talking about like the.
Yeah.
So I recently learned
in my 63 days or so, that there are ordinances that we can choose to enforce in lieu of state charges violating the ordinance, and those fees would come back to the town.
Yes.
So speeding is one of those. Stop sign violations, I believe I was told, was one of those. But then, as you allude to, you get to the perception of you're policing for profit, as compared to your speeding in that residential area. You get a state citation, you go to court, and you're dealt with by the courts and the judge. It does create that perception of policing for profit.
So can I, and then this kind of, it's in the same vein, but what if we set a limitation? Say if you're going over, if you're pulled for going, I don't know, 7 miles over, that's an in-town citation. If it's 10 or more, then it's state level and it goes out. That can be too complicated, but I'm just asking.
Just say no.
I don't think, even though the ordinance is there, I am not aware in my short tenure here, that is actual practice, that when they're given, it's either a warning citation to slow down in the neighborhoods, or a real citation, that you go downtown for and talk to the judge about. I don't think that that's a practice that is active, or may have even been active for a while, for the town of Beasley involved.
I'm suggesting that this is really, another one of those conversations you need to have.
Right.
The purpose of the police department is not to generate revenue, but they need to have fees and fines in place to enforce the law, just like it's code enforcement.
That's
or whatever.
mine.
But there's a limit to what you can do. I mean, why not set it to, the use of profanity, make it $500? Why don't we do it?
But that's my thing, it's, and I understand the perception of policing for profit, but however, if I am a frequent swearer and I don't care about that $25 fine, maybe it doesn't have enough teeth in it to deter people from, wanting to urinate in public. It's only $25. So if I just want to be a deviant and I've got $100 to spare, I can go pee on the sidewalk. We don't want that, but if we increase that fine and it's not policing for profit, it's deterring people from wanting to do that and knowing that if you do, there's some teeth attached to
And
this.
it may be a question for Mr. Porter on another conversation that we could charge. In that particular incident, I would expect our officers to charge that person for indecent exposure, which is a state criminal violation.
It was the jumped out off this.
Yeah, they do. They just kind of slap you.
It jumped off of this.
May be able to implement the ordinance violation as well. I think that would probably be a conversation with Mr. Porter.
So would that be like a double ticket? They get okay. That way they're actually, there's teeth, so they're getting the ticket and they've got to go to court, but we're also fining them with our ordinances too. Now, it's a heavier fine, it's a bigger deterrent to stop them from doing it, but it's also a win because we're getting the fees back to us. I mean, it's not your job to police for profit, but it is our job to think about bringing in additional funds and making sure we're not missing out on money.
I don't even know how you would regulate that.
Yeah.
You're talking about if you get fined for speeding and you get a ticket to go to court or pay it ahead of time, if you don't do that, you get a warrant. There's action and repercussions.
Right.
But for a $15 fine, or whatever the case, I don't know how you would even enforce
Right.
that.
I'm just throwing things out there, just ideas.
I think we can go away with all these.
Yeah,
because the cops aren't even using them, right? I mean, it's not practical, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would just say, I mean, other than the littering, which is the bane of our existence, most of this stuff on here, riding a bicycle on the sidewalk, that happens every day now, on that road. So I'm just saying, I think we need to just get rid of all those.
Hold on. One second, finish what you said, Mayor Pro Tem.
I think Cooper had the floor.
Yeah, that's what I said, finish what you said, Mayor
I
Pro
was
Tem.
just gonna say, other than the littering, which is the bane of our existence, I think we could get rid of most of this, cause most law, statutes and all of that, cover the things that we need to cover, and this is just busy work right here. Yeah.
Did you want to reply to that?
So, going back to the current person addressing probably a great point.
You going down.
If I were to enforce that ordinance, someone got the right lawyer, now you're infringing upon my personal rights. I can go to arrest someone. Look at, we already resist lane obstruct. Someone can stand on the street, on the sidewalk, as long as they're not obstructing our officers doing a wreck report or an accident investigation. I can't do anything with them for exercising the First Amendment right to the speech. So, Mr. Roy, you put your wallet back up.
Yeah.
I'd be broke.
It's not good, but at the same time, that speech is protected by the First Amendment.
I just, you can see how we can have a courageous conversation with a little bit of humor, but it's real.
It's real.
And so I agree that we don't need, I stay away from it. It's just another example of the things that are there, that are on the books that we need to address.
Yeah.
And so, this is all pre-E? Pre-E? Carly growl for me, will you? She's learned that every once in a while I just growl it away.
So is it feasible to just do away with these?
Let us come back to that.
All right.
Okay?
I want that suggestion, Rose.
Is that fair enough?
Just do away with it.
Is that fair enough? Can we just put that back on, police chief and let him come back to something after we get the budget adopted?
Yeah, come back with one, littering.
One.
Yeah, we all.
Littering for $1,000.
Yes, there we go.
The littering in most places is $1,000.
Yeah,
That's correct.
we all
It's
agree
rare
on
that a police officer catches them, so.
Well, that is something though that we'll work on.
All right.
Vote.
All right.
All right.
Sorry.
On you, sir. We're good.
Okay, I need to go back to the litter fee. Did you tell me where that was in the budget?
No, I told you that
It's-
it's part of
I just wanted to say that
sanitation.
again.
But I didn't, you did catch me.
He said, I just wanted you to say it.
I'm okay with that.
No, I'm just, all right, the debt services. So I think right now we have 3 main debt obligations the town does. Do you know the totals of the debt obligations we have, the total due? Not yearly.
I don't, but I could get that for you.
And I'm only asking to lead to a bigger conversation we can have later, which is, one of the things we need to do is do the fund balance policy, as you mentioned
Right.
previously. Obviously above 8%, which I think is not even a month worth, but maybe 25 to 40%. I saw that somewhere. 25 is, I guess, 3 months, The point is that at some point, I wonder if it's going to be more beneficial for us to pay off our debt obligations up front with a healthy fund balance.
Yes.
And save us $334,000 a year by doing so, if we have a healthy fund balance there.
Your finance directors should always be looking at this kind of time value of money and interest. Most of your interest on a debt is paid on the front end and it's declining through the years. So at some point, you get this past this point of no return, where it's better to carry the debt at a low interest than it is to pull from what you're pulling with the interest in your fund balance. But those are calculations that should be calculated as part of your budget. I think you're spot on, is absolutely correct. And so you need to be looking at that and making those decisions. So I do have somewhere what the total debt is, I just don't have it in front of me. And so I had talked about that with finance. And there was a decision, the reason for that was there was a discussion about prepaying the debt. This is a segue.
Oh, you do have it.
Prepaying the debt on the fire station. And so my argument was, why would we do that? Right? If we've negotiated the debt for the fire station from $70,000 to $50,000, that's not correct math, right? So why would we take now out of fund balance and prepay it when we're already getting a 0 interest? Keep it in the fund balance. But there's some other limitations based on our agreement and our contract, so we gotta think about that too. But I think that's it. What page are you on?
No, she's talking about the schedule of fees, but that's not,
Okay.
I was talking about in the line item.
So-
litter control fee.
Oh,
It's in
okay.
the sanitation schedule of fees.
So, yes, that is something that should be calculated. And it's the same thing that if you had a, let's just say a 50% fund balance, which is $6 million, and you're gonna buy a $1 million fire truck, it may make some sense. What'll happen is Jason will go out to bid for the truck, and they'll say, well, if you prepay for the chassis, you'll save this. Well, you have to make a decision if prepaying for that chassis, because see, the builder doesn't want to carry the debt on that chassis. All right, it's just like turning over property, real estate, right? So if you prepay the chassis, he's not carrying any debt till he delivers that truck. And so then you get a reduced cost, but you're having to calculate whether it's worth, I don't know, $400,000 for the chassis, 500, I don't even know what they are anymore, but 500,000 for the chassis, and leave that 500,000 in your fund balance getting X while they're building a truck. How long does it take?
It takes over a year.
Over a year. So I would rather have the 500,000 in my bank making something before I send it to the builder, who his only incentive is to get that truck built, is because he's carrying $500,000 worth of debt for that chassis. So you gotta be calculating, and that comes up a lot with the fire truck. That will be your biggest, debt that you deal with outside of water and sewer bonds. So yes, I got you. We'll figure it out. If you want me to figure out what the total is.
Right now.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
Actually, if I look through here enough, I probably can find it. I just don't know.
I think the fire station is probably our biggest debt right now, is that right?
No. No.
And then the
It's
rec
the rec
center?
department.
The rec center?
Rec center.
We should only have, for how many years, do we know how many years left we have on paying off that rec center?
Too many.
Like 40.
No.
Say it's a long time.
Have you found that in your budget?
What?
The debt service in your budget?
Yeah, I was just looking.
Just the expense line items.
Okay.
Not the total cost.
It doesn't have an expanded budget on it though?
It doesn't, it's towards the end, I think it's the last one.
Yeah.
It's a great question, and it's something definitely.
Oh, yeah,
very, very aware of.
93, GF 93 of 97.
Yeah, 93 what?
93 of 97.
Yeah, it'd be good for the board to see it. Usually, my other budgets in other places, it would say like payment 1 of 10, or payment 8 of 10. That way you at least knew what was close.
And we don't have that.
We don't. But no, I've got it, but I just don't, it hasn't been put in the budget.
Okay.
So, I do know that I got total debt somewhere back there. But I think that that's something should be put in there.
It's not on there?
If I went back there looking on the desk, it'd take me till tomorrow. Tomorrow.
When would that be, days,
For the record, I will modify it going forward next year and modify this to where it says payment 1 of X, so that you will always know when you look through the
How much
budget.
is left?
It won't be exact, it's like having a call for a payoff, right? But at least you'll know.
Yes.
Minimum.
Alderman Martell, you good?
Done, thank you.
All right, I think it's time to talk about matches.
All right, you drive.
No.
Go back to the, first page. Go back to the first page of the general fund budget, the one that had all that stuff on the back of it.
Page 2, GF 2.
Of 97.
Page 2 of the budget.
Yes.
GF,
2 of 97.
GF on,
You
Mayor
see at the
Pro Tem.
bottom, it says
It's
2,
the,
GF.
yeah, then your, the fund summary.
I'm gonna walk you through that page, the back page, okay? So, the page 2 of 97 is the expense side of the entire general fund. It has nothing to do at this point with the water, sewer fund, sanitation, nothing, just the entire general fund. If you go up top, you'll see the 24-25 department total request is 913,166 red. So I started 2 weeks out from having to present a budget $900,000 in the hole, okay, in the red. If you go to the right, you see the manager's recommended budget, 24-25, is just flat, okay? It's not in the red. I was able to calculate out $913,000 and 166 by a couple of ways. You either increase the revenues or cut the expenses, period, all right? So now I'll segue down to the, right below that, you'll see the total shortfall, 15.6 cents, $651. Manchester this, balance shortfall of the budget, 104. Let's focus on that number that says $104,000, 104,832. Those are not Manchester dollars. That $104,000 shortfall there is representative of HR. $50,000 in the building department to fix stuff, right? So the numbers above it, the 547,079 is the shortfall for Manchester after you calculate three things. One, you got a total budget for Manchester, and you take from that total budget of Manchester and you subtract the total revenue. The revenue is here, okay? Hot off the press, isn't it, Jay? Hot off the press. It's dated May 23rd. I know the clerk's got to get one, I just don't want to get her, right? So from the total budget for the Manchester Fire District, we're going to do two things. We're going to subtract 300 or 3 salaries and firefighters. You'll see that later in the expense. So Manchester is staffed with 9 firefighters. 2 of them are vacant, right? And so you end up with a, I think Manchester was originally, y'all forgive me, I'm gonna take you to another page. I'm gonna try to walk through this. Make it clear as mud. That is my goal.
Okay.
Is fire before police or after police?
Fire is.
Who gets top billing? If anybody finds Manchester in the budget.
Manchester is on page 4 of 11.
His budget, then it's Swan Lake, and then.
4 of 11. That says fleet.
No,
I'm on the wrong one. That's
it's
the wrong one.
60,
That's the wrong one.
yeah.
62, here comes Carly,
Thank you.
coming to the rescue. Thank you, Carly. Okay, so look at page 62 of 97, and look under the total department request, 766,509. Are you with me? You get over to the right, the manager recommendation, 586,760. All right, all I'm doing there is making a few cuts. The largest cut, the largest reduction in expense is the freezing and unfilling of 3 firefighter positions. So the total allocation to Manchester is 9. We're freezing, unfilling 3, that leaves 6 in the budget. Now, the deltas in the numbers and the everything above workman's comp on this thing is what we're talking about here. Those are the major changes. So we go from 766,509 to 586,760.
Difference of 179,749.
That's right, you'll see that in another, well, if you see my calculations. So now back to the page 2 behind it. You'll notice that that number is not the same. The shortfall. Now you're having to look at the revenue pieces and how those things come into it, what we're trying to do to make it up. So to keep it simple, if we do nothing else today, you need to increase your taxes by 13.1 cents to fully fund the Manchester district. If you do nothing else, we've already eliminated or frozen and unfilled 3 firefighters. But if you do nothing else, you still have to raise taxes 13.1 cents. So below that is where you see this 50% shortfall. Jason has been working diligently to try to get an increase in the support from the county in funding the Manchester district. The paper that I just sent out to you is, if you notice that the service district's county funding for fire departments, in this case rural, non-urban districts, is a 10-cent tax equivalent. Service district tax, $375. A supplement, some of that comes from the chief, it's not necessarily tax. And then the grant, $75,000. So the county came through with a $75,000 grant to pay for fire station. All right, LGC negotiated it to $50,000 instead of $75,000. So you immediately think, well, now I got $25,000 and I can do something else. Well, you can't, because the agreement, all of that has to go to the debt. So that's why you have the LGC having conversations about paying $75,000 instead of $50,000. So now we come back still to the bottom line number. Then we made an assumption that what if the county, whoever the county is, funds an additional 50% of the shortfall. That's what's reflected on that back page as well. You'll see that 50% Manchester shortfall. Even if they come up with 50% more money, now you gotta do a tax increase of 6.6 cents instead of 13.1, right? So to fund 15. And so, see the other balance shortfall, the 104, that's the same. That's HR, that's building, got nothing to do with Manchester. It's just how we're looking at the total expense side of the equation. So all in, if you do nothing else today, the manager's recommended budget includes a 9.1 cent tax increase. 6.6 cents of that is specifically dedicated to fund 50% of the shortfall. However,
Yeah, because the county says no.
if the county's only gonna do 161, Jason, help me. Now, will you please share the conversations with everybody, what our struggle? How much are we gonna get from the county?
What I was told by the Chiefs Association the other day is, and I was telling Raul there a minute ago, the county has low wealth departments. Okay, low wealth departments, if you make under $250,000, which we do, we only make 82, whatever it is, then you should be, you are granted through the Chiefs Association $250,000. All right, and then you also get stuff for your, whatever your ISO is, you get points for that. We run EMS out there, so you get EMS members, and then the 7,500 is for rescue. They already give us that. So somewhere in the numbers, we should be around 330, something like that. What he told me the other day is they were looking to give us the $300,000 and then the 75 for the building still. So we would be at 375 is what we're getting. And that's what he told me the other day. I don't see it in writing, so I can't say that's where we're at, but that's tremendous help for us.
Yeah, that fixes the problem.
Yeah, it fixes a lot.
For the most of
Some
it, I mean,
no,
a
no,
big portion of it.
It finishes
huge
up,
portion
it
of it.
finishes up your 13% tax increase, but it doesn't fix, a lot of things. But,
If you
so
get,
that's kind of where we're at.
if you get that, you don't have to do 13.3.
We have to do
If you get
six, so we
that,
do the 9.1.
you do
9.1.
6.6 or maybe 6.0,
Right,
whatever. So you're still having to increase taxes,
right.
even with the 300. So, it's difficult, I know.
But that's from the fire association.
Fire chiefs
Fire,
association.
fire chiefs.
That's correct.
That's not from the county.
They kind of work together because the county gives the fire chiefs association so much money. And then they, how the $250,000 comes is each fire department is not under Lowell, and Hope Mills and Fayetteville and Spring Lake is not part of that because we're own entities. They are taxed 5% to be able to fund these extra fire departments to help the Godwin Falcons and people like that who don't have, just like the Manchester area. That's what that's for. So they actually, they still do, but they don't, if that makes sense. They get the money from the county, but the county, they tax their own way.
So, and we haven't been getting this money, why, so far?
Well, number one, we didn't have, we were contracted just to run a service out there for them, and we've done it for over 20 years. And all they gave us, and it was agreed way back then to just give the taxes is all they wanted. And this was way before Jason. They agreed to do that. And now I've been trying to change that with the extra money that I went down with a couple of years ago and asked for, which helped pay for the station part of it, but, now it's time for them to step up again. One of the things that me and the manager was talking about was he wanted a copy of the agreement we have to work with them. It's under a 5-year agreement, and it ends the end of this month. So that's really where we're at, is what we're gonna do.
So what are the options? If it ends, then what?
Well, if we don't agree it, then Manchester, we don't cover Manchester.
So we just have a fire station sitting out there that won't be used?
The debt we still pay.
A debt, which, yeah.
We still pay for it, and some of the things that we get mixed up in is, the reason that I built the fire station out there, one reason that we wanted it out there for was the response times, period.
Right.
The guy that just rolled Friday, rolled on Manchester Road, not Manchester Road, McCormick Bridge Road, come around that corner and rolled it, and stuck in his vehicle. Manchester, it took him about 2 minutes to get there, a little over that. Here, it took him almost 8.5 minutes to get there, so.
That's a life or death situation.
It does, it didn't become that way, but I mean, we built that out there to cut the times everywhere. Times, but he don't care about times, he doesn't tell me, I don't care about times. Times matter to me.
There's a reason for that.
There's a reason, but I mean, times, in this area, I've seen a lot of stuff go wrong about time. So I did one of his things the other day, and so I took the 2 million, all right, so take the 2 million, who wants to do it? $2 million. All right, take $2 million. Now that is, he's like, I mean, he'll eat me later because it's not. All right, take 2 million. So divide that by the 13,000 people that we cover. Should be 158.
Yeah.
All right,
No, 153.
153. So that is per person, it costs you an extra $158 or $153 a year to have a mindset of saying, I can call 911 and somebody's gonna be there within the next few minutes. No matter where I'm at in town. Or in Deerfield at 5, 6 o'clock, because 11 always beats 22 in because you can't get down the road. See, things like that is what he started implanting, is knocking it down to. So a year, talking about $150-something a year. Granted, it's gonna be a tax increase now for these things. But I'm saying, in the lower whole gist of it, it's $150-something a year. Is that, I I mean, that sets the punishment. He's like, no, he said, I'm gonna eat your dinner later on. He tells me all the time, he's like, you can do this, but I'm gonna eat your dinner later on. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Eat your lunch.
Eat my lunch, yeah.
You can have your dinner. Actually, I'm sitting here going, I'm glad he's thinking like that.
Well, I am,
Oh, yeah.
but that's what I did, so I started figuring out, I'm like, okay, so if you knock it down to 12, each person, a month's paying $12 for that sense of mind to say,
I'm
I
saying.
can call anytime, house on fire, my cat stuck in the tree, we won't come help you with that, but my dog is in a vehicle, any way, I'm locked out of my house, call and we automatically show up, what do you need? We're here for you. To me, that is a sense that, granted, it's hard to say 6 cents on a tax, but I mean, it's also that valid point of saying, anytime I call, no matter where I'm at, if I wreck on Manchester Road, I got somebody there within 2 minutes.
What's that monthly breakdown again? How much would it be about?
$153.
No, that's a year. What was the one, $12?
It's $153. Oh, no, a month is like $12.
$12 a month
So,
for peace of mind.
right.
42 cents a day.
42 cents.
See, it's like that little commercial you used to see.
That's important.
For only 42 cents a day, you can save a firefighter's job.
Well, then we should collect that.
You can say the $5.
See?
But the fight's not with you, and it's not.
The fight is not with me,
The
but
fight is with the
it's
county.
100%.
The county has gotten the benefit of Manchester Fire Station for years, for less than pennies.
100%. I agree with that 100%. I got that, but when we're talking, hey, we can't fund the fire service. Okay, that doesn't mean, we still have to pay for that bill regardless,
Right.
Yeah,
okay? But that also means I don't get to have that many firemen. Now my firemen are starting to go, well, we gotta save money. We have to start cutting fire jobs. All right? And I'll take this from this young lady, she's here all the time. You don't need us until you need us.
yeah, but,
And that's, you should say that every meeting. You don't need us until you need us.
but we just have to have equity for responsibility. You know, yes, it's worth it to be able to get a response, a quicker response, but, maybe we need to let these people know that, you know, you have to come into the fold and pay our taxes if you wanna continue having our services. You know, those same people are probably tapped onto our water and aren't paying our taxes. So, you know, we have to look at that. Yeah, we have to look at that, and, I don't know how we fix that, but, you know, I'm not willing to, you know, I'm willing to say, listen, Cumberland County, Harnett County, if you wanna continue to have our services, you're gonna have to pay us a better, more money, cause we can't do it for free, we can't put the responsibility on our taxpayers.
No, I agree 100%.
So,
But, I mean,
yeah.
I agree, but we've been working on getting Manchester's
Right.
money up altogether.
And you
Yeah.
got a rating of 2 on there, so we talk about quality service, you're providing a quality
100%.
service.
Yeah.
But the county needs to pony up for that quality service.
That's correct.
And Harnett County, we service their,
and Harnett as
and
well.
Harnett County.
You can't do that with Harnett County. Well, and the only reason I'll tell you why, because I don't want you to say, no, because we respond out there for help when they need our help. But they also respond up here for help, same thing.
Okay.
So they wouldn't charge us, so we can't charge them.
Okay, that makes
That's a mutual aid agreement that that's how you're stuck.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like that, the house fire we had on Mack Street, we had 3 from Harnett County, we had 2 from Fort Bragg, we had 2 from Fayetteville, you know what I'm saying, so it was.
So Chief, about how many calls do you provide, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
About how many calls do you provide to non-Spring Lake, Cumberland County residents from Manchester there on either a day, week, month, year type of basis?
Manchester has been our mutual aid, truck, because it's kind of sitting where it sits, we go to Harnett County a lot, it does that. When I figured it up, now, when they come into town for different things, I haven't broke it down like that, they run about 500 calls a year out there. So it all depends on how much they're coming to town for. Like I said, because if they go Chapel Hill Road out, Manchester covers. So Pine Knoll, all that stuff, Manchester covers. On the other side, anything from Chapel Hill Road back, Deerfield, you know, all that out there, see, they all respond to that. So I haven't broke it down that way, because it's really, this is the area they cover, this is the area that they cover. Unless they both have to respond to something, but that's the way I've done it. It'll take me a little longer to break it down.
Does Fort Liberty pay into this at all? Can we request funding from them?
We use them too, so the same thing.
Okay, so it's another mutual aid type of situation.
That's correct. Yeah, most time we go to Fort Liberty, we take the ladder truck, and it comes out of us, and that responds on our time.
Okay.
On time.
We're just pressed for time.
100%, well, even if, and this is where the bad thing comes out, so me and the town manager was talking the other day, is even if they said, yeah, we're gonna give you the money, it won't be till January, because that's when everything comes out, because they go by regular years. They ain't like ours.
When you say they, you're talking about the Fire Chiefs Association?
Fire Chief Association plus the county,
So-
everybody is January. That's when we get that $75,000 check, that's when we get the taxes. Taxes are every year, every month, they're supposed to
If
be.
there was a commitment, I'd be on board with it, but we have no idea what's gonna
And
happen.
that's
And
what
it hasn't
I've been
happened.
working on the whole time.
And, you know, over the last couple of years, since that fire station's been open, the Spring Lake citizens been footing the bill for $700,000 a year. And now it's gonna go down to $500,000, and now on top of that, we're gonna increase your taxes for another fire station. And that's where the juice is not worth the squeeze, in my opinion. I mean, I know that we have saved lives, I know that station has saved lives out there. And I know that the firefighters are mostly interchangeable, and they respond to every call. When you're talking about 500 calls, you're also talking about the majority of that being normal Spring Lake calls anyway, because I'm sure that those couple of, you know, I know there's mutual aid outside, you know, and all that happens, but I'm not, where I stand right now, I'm not on board with continuing to foot the bill on that entirely. I appreciate that the county is paying $161, but they don't see the benefit enough to increase that.
I'm hoping to change it.
I know you want to change that, and you've been working on that, and you've been making sure we budget correctly, and we account for the finances, so that we can take that back to them, but they haven't gotten back to us on it. You know, and so they don't see enough of a benefit for it. And there are a lot of people in that area, and it does cut out response time, there are a lot of those good things. But the taxes, you know, we are 100% going to a tax increase next year. Even if we do this year, we're 100% going to a tax increase next year, because of the sales tax distribution going on in the county right now. So, and that's gonna be, you said 500,000, that's a very low number compared to the numbers we had seen before,
I
right?
have no idea what, I
We
think
have
it's
no
gonna be
idea
closer
what
to
it's
me.
gonna actually be. It's gonna be up, you know, to $1.4 million that we could be losing. So we're looking for 100% tax increase next year. And, you know, the email I sent to the board, I'll share, you know, be transparent with, was that if we cut the service to Manchester Fire Station, we, one, would not have to raise our taxes at all, because that's gonna save us $500,000. And the tax increase was gonna bring the town a total of $378,000. So we'd be saving some and be able to retain another $200,000 to disperse however we need to disperse it. The other thing is that if we didn't disperse the other $200,000, we could even look at lowering our tax rate. But that's a discussion we can have. I'm just saying, that's where I stand on it. There is a time factor that we're up against, because we have until the end of this month to renew another 5-year contract to service that. We were already, how many years have we gotten the $75,000, $78,000? That's always been in existence, right?
Yeah,
Since we had
that's
that
12 or 20 years, yeah.
Since we had that
The
contract.
10%, yeah.
So we had a fire station over there at the end of Manchester, right, where Nobles Meats was. And when they took that away, they started contracting with the town to provide fire service.
That's correct.
So that's where we got that 10 cent, for the service district back there. So that's where we got that money already. All right, I've said enough.
Can I, Jason, this, letter from the county, it basically says service district tax 10 cent equivalent. Okay, so 78,000. What's the maximum tax
15
rate?
in the county, but they have to do it throughout all of them. But everybody right now is 10 flat.
Right, why do you have to do it all over? Because that's the way the county set it up.
That's correct.
Okay, so, 3.7 cent cent allocation is extrication, 7,500, grant, 75,000. The total funding is 161. Now, the other would come from the
Chiefs Association.
Chiefs Association. All right, so for a total of 375. All of this and what we get from the chief will be total of 375.
I think so.
Okay, so 375. So even if you still do that, you gotta do the 6.6. All right, so you, in order to subsidize it, to have there. We've already cut the 3 firefighters. I too have done a little bit of math. In light of the agreement ending June 30th of 2024, there needs to be a target rate. It doesn't have to be 100%, but it needs to be a target rate of what funding is gonna come from the county versus what, we realize in terms of the response back into the town. At the end of the day, we're trying to roll 2 engines.
That's correct.
All right, so whether those engines roll out of this station or this station and Manchester, it's 2 engines. And so the 2 engine complement, how many people do you have at station 1? I'm asking this instead of saying 22 and 11.
Okay.
Well, how many do you have at station 1?
As it stands right now, 4.
All right, how many people do you staff at station 2?
It would be 3 when we cut, it's gonna be 2.
2. All right, so that's 5 people, because one of the 4 is always off, right, at station 1.
Yeah.
And so they're all 5 of those are competing for the same time off. So, the goal is 5 people, 2 engines, all right, on duty, 24/7, 365.
Technically 6.
Okay, yeah, I know 6.
Yeah.
So, now I'm going to express why I said that time doesn't matter. Okay, well, I'm not interested in time and response times. Clearly I am, right? I know that when you look at a call breakdown, you start thinking about 2 engines responding, 3 people, 10 people. Really what we're talking about is a response of 15 people, right?
Correct.
5 ain't enough. Grammatically incorrect, but it just ain't enough. What we're trying to do is deploy enough resources to do what we can do. So how often do you require the response of 15 people, and how often do you get 15 people? Is part of the equation. Clearly, we're not paying staffing 15 people. We're staffing 5 or 6, okay? So, it is my belief that you, and that's why I framed it this way, on the 29th. You do not want to pay for a fire station in Fayetteville. But you do it all the time when you look at sales tax distribution, right? You do it all the time. So you are essentially paying for that, and then we get that resources of mutual aid. And so when you do sales tax distribution, and then you say we're gonna have a station 2 in Fayetteville, or a station 2 in Spring Lake, you gotta think about how all that revenue comes together. It is my opinion, it would be my recommendation that the agreement ends June 30th, 2024. We would indicate that we're going to pull out of Manchester 3 months in entirety. Okay? So June, July, August, and September, unless right? We have a new agreement, and that new agreement funds 85 to 90% of the entire Manchester operations. That's how I would base it. Because, not 100%, because we still get the benefit of them coming back in.
Right.
Right.
So even if we stop everything right now, you still got the debt, right? 75,000 or 50,000. And you would still pull people in at that point, instead of having 6 firefighters at Manchester, you'd have 3 here and the other 3 somewhere else or gone, right? I just think the math is better that way. It is a win-win strategy for everybody.
So, by when do are we giving them a time limit on, you need to answer us by this time? Or we're making the decision? This is hilarious. Let's go.
Did I not give you one? I'll make sure you get this one, I'm
Here.
sorry. Oh, here we go.
As we
Notice this is conveniently quadrants. Right, four quadrants. Urgent, important, critical, not important, win-win, lose-win. I think our goal, right, and the county goal should be win-win.
Right.
That's what I think it should be. So if we create out the gate, lose-lose, how do we get to win-win? That's why I'm saying we should work it this way, that we have an agreement that expires, we have fulfilled our obligations of that agreement, okay? Above and beyond the town's obligations of that agreement. Would you agree?
Yeah.
It expires June the 30th. And now it's time for,
Courageous conversation.
time to ante up, right?
Yes.
It's time to have that courageous conversation and say, how are we gonna fund this? I do not think that it's appropriate for, Spring Lake residents to fund $766,000 worth of operations at the Manchester Fire District. But I do think that it's appropriate for them to fund 10 or 20% of that because of the recall. Now go back to, sunk costs in the sense that the capital cost associated with the engine is there, it's flat, right? Really what we're talking about is the labor cost. All right, we're gonna eat the debt anyway. They didn't sign that instrument, we did. We're really talking about the labor cost. And so if we can absorb that to the tune of, let's just pull a number, 766, 20% of 766, 76,000, what is that, right? 76,000 and 140,000. So if they can fund up to 600,000 of the operation, 600,000. I'm doing rough math in my head. You got the calculator, you might be winning.
I did the 766 times 20%.
Yes.
No, do 766 times 80%. That's the argument I'm doing in my head.
612,800.
They need to fund at least 612,000 of that 766 total fund, or we just pull out.
Okay.
That's what I think.
And
And
they
you need to give them, even though you're not required to do it,
Right.
you give them 3-month notice, all right? But you still need to do the tax increase.
Yeah, 6.6.
Okay, do the 6.6. Okay?
We want to increase our
6.6.
fund balance.
Because on the same page 2 of that, the 240,000 is the fund balance.
Right.
So we're doing the 6.6, but not the 13.1.
That's correct. The
Okay.
total would be 9.1.
So, and remember, again, if we increase this year, we're still prepping for this big sales tax hit that's coming next year that we're going to have to do anyway. So we incrementally increase the taxes, or we do it all at one time?
So you're saying.
It doesn't work like, the math is not, I'm not understanding the math to work like that though.
Okay.
Because regardless, we're gonna be at a loss next year.
Right.
Mhm.
So if we don't raise it this year, we're still gonna have to raise it next year. But it doesn't mean that whatever the loss is this year, that doubles, you know? I mean, is anybody else seeing it this way?
I'm just thinking
Because
incremental.
there's not a way we can incrementally get there because we don't know what that's gonna be, and we're experiencing loss right now this year, or this coming up year already. That's not gonna help us get a lower cost rate or a tax rate increase next year though.
No, it's not.
Right. I'm saying we're going to have to increase taxes regardless.
Next year.
Right. So, I mean, do we start increasing now? That way we're building fund balance. We're still gonna have to go up again. It's either we go up a small percentage now and a small percentage again next year, or we just do the big percentage next year without going up at all this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I'm reading him too, in the sense of how his math is. Mine is you raise the 6.6 this year, and then if they don't come through with 600,000, you've already got the tax in place. If they come through with 600,000, you've already got the tax in place. So it's the delta between what they're paying versus what they would pay. If they don't pay, you pull out, and now you're not paying those expenses. So you're still capturing that in terms of fund balance. But I still agree with you that, no matter what you do this year, go ahead and increase it 20, right? Because it's coming. It's coming. And I don't think that fall is going to hurt. It probably would hurt a little less if it was half and half, half this year, half next
That's
year.
what I'm thinking.
But at the end of the day, it's still a bottom line number.
Yeah.
And is that what you're saying? You're gonna have to do it no matter what.
Right.
And so,
I understand what you're saying now, okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about if this money comes through, then that's less we have to increase it next year.
Yes.
Okay.
And see, and I think, Raw, that's actually part of the argument. And yet, once again, this is a key, is that, look, we're doing this to give you a three-month pocket to come up with $600-some-thousand. And if you don't, we're just gonna pull out completely, and we're gonna come back into the station, and we're gonna run 2 engines out of here with 5 people, instead of 2 engines out of 2 stations with 5 people. So, even though we got 4 here, but one of them's already always off.
I need 6. You keep saying 5, I need 6 people.
How many badges you need?
Now is not the time.
27, so.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Now is not the time.
Did he give that to you?
I get it.
I need at least 6.
I get it.
Per day.
I get it. But see, that's always a strategy. Now, let me tell you, this is where I'm gonna counter. And this is what we're talking about. Chiefs, police chiefs, fire chiefs, in general, public safety in general. So, my very first call on an ambulance, not a fire truck, my very first call on an ambulance came when I was doing my ride time as an EMT student. Remember, I went to Fort Bragg. So I rode an ambulance in rotation out of Womack Army Hospital. My very first call was a soldier that run into the back of a deuce and a half. And so, and I know this may be a little bit gory, but had a big gash right here on his face, and it was 0 blood coming out of it. Yeah, your face is highly vascular, right? And noses and all this stuff. 0 blood. Now I'm a student still, right? I don't know nothing. And so we get in the back, and they say, okay, you get his blood pressure. All right, priority, right? That's important. Nothing. Do it again. I don't get nothing. Okay? I can't get a pulse. I'm thinking, damn, I'm not much of a good student. You guys did say that, didn't I? Don't find me. Don't find me. I'm not a very good student, right? That I can't even get a blood pressure or a pulse. What am I doing wrong? And so I'm really worried that I'm messing up, right? And so the impact of this deuce and a half hitting the back of it, hits the windshield shattered. Of course, you have this, this impact with the steering wheel stuff. And so the agonal respirations, it severed the aorta. So it's bleeding out inside. That's why you don't have anything going up in here, right? Nothing's going on. Now I share that because time didn't matter. It just simply didn't matter. Okay? If you fall off the 10th floor, or in this case, and sometimes it don't matter how fast the people get there. You're done. And so the equation of time and response matters if you can get there and do something from an EMS perspective and a fire perspective. We want to get there before 7 minutes before we reach into this flashover station. Now everything's built to burn. So what really matters is how fast somebody calls 911. That's what matters. And if we can't staff 911, then you're gonna have a delayed response in fire, police, or whoever it may be. And so that's what's meant by time doesn't matter. Clearly, it matters. Okay, clearly it does. If I'm the one not breathing, I want you here 10 seconds. Now, if you want to be closer to the fire station, build your house closer to the fire station. Right? But they don't do that. They make decisions about urban and rural, right? All the things, and taxes. That's why you keep hearing me talk about 15. If I had a structure fire right now, I want 15 people sitting right there. I had a class. I was teaching chemistry of hazardous materials. I had 30 people sitting in the class. They were all my firefighters. We had a structure fire. We were banged out. Took the ladder, the 2 engines, everything, hit the road. All right? 2 fire deaths. And I had them sitting in the station with me. 2 fire deaths. My last 5 fire deaths were all in the daytime. So it's the difference between comparing the reality and response times and percentages in water. There's no perfect solution. If there was, they would have built it right there. But they're not here. Did anybody see the sprinkler systems in here? They're not here. 50-year-old building. There's a solution. This building could burn to the ground. Fire station right there. Would you agree? Right there. Right there. It's happened. It happens all the time. So that's the conversation. And so I believe the greatest value of the station in Manchester is not the fire side. It's the medical side. It's the heart attacks. It's the car wrecks you said turned over in the ditch, right? And then time only matters if they have a seat belt, they're not overturned, they're not in a ditch, you know, the mechanism of injury and all the things that come into play with that. It's clearly important. If it's me, I want you right here yesterday. But we can't be all things to all people at all times. In service to all means service to no one. And so when you're calculating those things, it's not about trying to do life and death decisions based on the budget. The recommendation that I'm making, I think, is pure. It comes from the business side of the equation, and it balances out the emotional side of the equation. In that if you want to have the district, then you need to ante up. The citizens of Spring Lake will subsidize that, but up to a point. And that point is what you're trying to calculate. And that's what a marginal benefit analysis is about. At what point? So we reduced 766 to 580 something by eliminating 3 firefighters. Okay? So if you come to the table with 600,000, we're going to put the 3 firefighters back in. You follow me? That's the math. It's that simple. And now they're there. They can respond to this. And so others get it too. Everybody wants to be there. That would be my recommendation with this big global issue. Our contract expires. We need to renegotiate the contract. We need at least to get 80% of the total funding to operate Manchester, or we pull out 3 months from now. And we pull back into station 1.
So to understand the numbers, we're talking about 586 budgeted this year, is what your current proposal is. But that doesn't factor into the other proposal you just made, right? The 3-month thing?
No, it does not.
Okay. But Chief, so we're looking at the tax, which is about 80,000.
That's correct.
And then the grant, which is 75,000, and the $7,500. So on the 161 is coming out of that. The other amounts you're talking about from the Chief Association. So the total, including what Cumberland County is giving, you're saying is 375.
That's what their first initial thing was they threw to me. Now they're going to have to change this the whole way together. I mean, him talking about.
On the books right now, you're talking about 375.
Yeah.
Even though there's no strong commitment.
That's correct. That's the way it came up with me the other day.
So 375, so 586 minus 375.
We need to find $200,000. Come up with
Well-
Or the county needs to up their
What,
agency by two.
what John is saying is, you know, because we're still talking about Spring Lake putting some of that money in.
Yes.
You know, so 211,000 is, part of that is gonna come from Spring Lake regardless, is what you're proposing.
Because we benefit from that.
Right.
Right, the citizens here benefit from that, as well.
I'm just making sure I understand.
But you're not talking about lowering the 9.9.
The only thing I'm talking about is not increasing it 13.1.
Right.
Right.
So, no, I'm still saying you do the 6.6 and the total, let me get to that, I'm sorry. I turned the page on that.
Yeah, the 6.6 plus.
So we're looking at 9.1%.
Yeah, 9.1.
Regardless.
See, remember, at first, we were talking about 15.6 total.
Right.
So if I had come to you and said, you need to do a 13.1 cents to fund the Manchester Fire Station, is that a starter or a non-starter? We're gonna do 6.6, right? I have to create, you know, you have to put the budget out there, it has to be balanced, and you have to get to the point to where you can have these courageous conversations. There is no winning strategy. If so, it would have been done. There's no single right answer. There's always a calculation in the deltas of what's the second right answer. And nobody wants to, you know, oh my God, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do, I get it, I understand it, all right? But there's, everything. Leo, fire, public works, buildings, everything that you gotta do, right? And to service all. The lady that I talked to yesterday about the yard debris in her yard, we didn't have any conversation about police department, no conversation about water, no conversation about fire. She didn't really give a tinker, whatever, who I was, just whether or not I could help her get that garbage out of her yard. That was the only thing that she wanted to talk about. Now, if it was on fire, she wouldn't have cared who I was either, pulling up and picking up 3.150. She'd want it to be red and big, right? So I get it, and that's, there's just no single answer. I just think that's the best route forward, is that the county should ante up to a greater expense. And that should be the way forward. By doing what I did here in the budget, that's telegraphing your punch. Right? It allowed you guys to start having a conversation about it. Now we need to know what we're gonna do. That still remains my recommendation.
So can you vocalize for the people out there, how they would figure out what that amount would look like on their tax bill in a year?
He already did that calculation.
I know, but I don't have that in front of me, so I don't wanna say
You
something.
know, well.
It's less than $100 a year.
Right, yeah.
Okay, for the
'cause
average homeowner in Spring Lake,
Right.
it's less than $100 a year.
Right, but I thought, you know, saying that out loud, cause a lot of people think it's like thousands of dollars.
I will make sure I do that again
Thank you.
Monday.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
'cause
I will make sure that I address that issue Monday.
I appreciate it, yeah.
So I don't wanna go Monday, I don't wanna go through all this.
No,
Right.
no,
Right? I
no.
wanna go, here's the general fund, here's the tax rate, this is what we're doing.
Right,
We're beside the ship, some same stuff, so I value
Right.
today, I value every hour we spend here today.
Absolutely.
yeah, but I just, like I said, you know, a lot of people, oh my God, you know, when they call you, they're all unhinged and they have no clue what that actual amount of money looks like,
Right.
so.
We'll take those slides and put them in a little cheat sheet, take pictures of them on your phone so you can go.
And
roll 'em up.
smart.
Yeah,
That
roll 'em
doesn't-
up.
They don't read those.
Yeah.
No, you
would.
can tell them.
Oh.
Yeah, that is your stuff for the street talk. You say, well, look, let me show you. Let me show you. What's the value of this phone? Would y'all mind if I close with one topic?
Sure.
Also on my desk here is the phone bill for Verizon. This is for Verizon. It's $311.
Hallelujah. That's way less than what it's been for a long time.
What are you talking about?
And now I'm getting ready to rain on your parade. Okay? So that's the phone bill for Verizon. $311. The T-Mobile one, I'm not even gonna tell you what.
Oh, gosh.
Okay? We are approaching 2 cents on the,
No.
Tax rate.
Yeah.
okay? So,
That's accrued over how long?
April, June.
Yeah, about a year now, just
About
over
a
a
little
year.
over a year now.
A little over a
Wait,
year.
that's a year's worth of bills?
This is the whole situation with T-Mobile, with the line changing over, with, you know, the internet,
Everything.
the whole situation with T-Mobile
That's
has been costing us, a significant amount of manpower and tax dollars.
I'm going to put in a purchase order to pay it, okay? I think that it would be unethical to do anything less.
Yeah.
However, I don't think that purchase order will be for the entire amount. I'll just leave it at that,
Okay.
okay? So, no attorneys, it's just John. Growl. I will be meeting with T-Mobile, and saying, you know, we've got some things in our boxes that have never been used. I'm not gonna pay for something never used. But I don't think it's just appropriate to go nothing.
Right.
When the phone rings today, I still answer it on a T-Mobile on my desk. We've been using the service, we have to pay for the service. So if you're gonna use the service in Manchester, you gotta pay for the service. If you're gonna use the service for, vendor fee, whatever it is in the tip, you gotta pay for service.
It's almost like
It's
another Spring Lake property acquisition situation.
So,
It is.
rapid, okay, I got it. I just want you to know that's going on. And I'll be happy to talk with you if you want a little bit more detail. It's not necessary right now, just to accept that we got it, we're working on it. We're calculating, we're doing stuff. I don't know what that's gonna be, but it's gonna be something. Okay.
But T-Mobile will be wrapped up.
Yes.
We can
Move to Verizon.
go back to Verizon. Carly has worked diligently scrubbing our Verizon account so that we're not paying for additional lines. We know where things are and who's using those phones, so we're gonna be saving a significant, switching back to Verizon, it's gonna be a drastic decrease from what we've been paying.
She says, "You killing me, Smalls."
So, I mean, when he said 300, that's the smallest Verizon bill I have seen. But like I said, we were paying for it. How
That
many
Verizon
additional
bill, though,
lines?
that was just for, that Verizon bill for 311, that's for what?
I don't know. I got
That's
it
for desk
this morning.
phones
I
that are
printed it
still
off.
active.
But
That's not including the police MiFi.
But, I mean, to be honest, we had charges from all over the place that were, not just Verizon, for Spectrum. There was just a hodgepodge of stuff that wasn't talking because we were working in silence.
So they've been working diligently to comb through these accounts, find, lines and equipment that just aren't being used or should have been removed, and they have gotten them together, and that makes me very, very happy. Is this one packet, or is
No,
this?
that's
okay.
share. Here comes the second piece.
So is that the only thing you were gonna say about the Verizon bill?
Yeah, that's all.
John?
Yeah, we'll keep working on it.
I got the second one already.
What you got?
No, I don't got that one. Thank you.
There's the third.
Yeah, I will.
That's page one,
Putting you on the spot, that's all.
that's page two. That's for here's the third page.
And I'm doing it with the board so that I'm not calling anything out with the staff. I'll pick on you basically.
For me?
No, just in general, the board. What's coming to you is a condensed document. It shows where the board fits in terms of your, pay, right?
Oh.
Whether you
Oh,
get it
for
or
the board,
yeah.
This board.
Why
This
would
board
you
pays
pay
it.
now?
Okay.
So, basically, Spring Lake is highlighted in red. So I took the National League of, not the National, North Carolina League of Municipalities, and looked at everybody where Spring Lake fit in comparison to the rates for other board members. So there's a mayor copy, there's a mayor pro tem copy, and then there's just a governing board member copy. I did this for every position in the city. That's why I was able to adjust the pay plan that you see in your budget, right? And I targeted to where we could get the top 50%. And so what this doesn't tell you is where you fit percentage-wise, until you get to the bottom. Yeah, until you get to the bottom. So get all the way down. That's a line that I added at the bottom in orange. So it will show you where you fit. So the number for a governing board member to be in the top 51 percentile should be 6,943. We're 5,848. Okay? For the mayor pro tem, it should be 7,243. We're at 5,910. Okay. And for the mayor, it's should be 9,598. In Spring Lake, we're at 9,475. I wanted to use that as an example to follow up, so I don't have this conversation again Monday. I don't think it's necessary, in that when we take this data and we compile it in a way that we try to do our own homework and get it to a point, doesn't mean it's at the right point. It's just a point, okay? And you gotta start somewhere. So the approach this year was to deal with everybody in the general fund, everybody in the water department. And so, we did not do anything for the board, right? So I hear it, I got you. But we'll deal with it. And so then you look at what other comparable cities do, and you're right there. It's just trying to get you up into that 50 percentile, just like we're trying to do with everybody else. So next year, chase it. I wanted to share that with you, that we did look at it, right? And so I think it's a big deal. So basically, to me, I think it's a win-win deal. It puts $725 back in your training budget.
Yes, please.
I'm done there, I'm sorry.
So, we had talked about this earlier, about to see something, say something, do something. And I know you gentlemen, other people are all over town, you know. Is there anything, and I know y'all are busy, but is there anything in reference to like the dumping and the litter that you all can do to help us clean up around town? Is it anything your staff can do, or anything that we need to put in the budget to help with that? Like, so that we can get rid of some of these issues.
You're talking to us?
Yes.
The guy who just got 7 people out there? You're asking us for more help? That's what you're saying, though? Oh,
Yeah,
no. I mean,
we didn't cut, we said you all need to be paid for what you're worth, and the people who are providing the service to need to pay for it. So that's all we're saying, we're not saying we don't love you.
no, he said, we're gonna get my people back. No.
See, yeah, John, get your man.
No, he's just being a fire chief, that's all it is.
Yeah.
And I recognize it, I mean,
What do you ask, really?
You know, like if you all could.
While they riding around and they
Yeah,
say
if
something,
you all
just-
can give that information to the manager.
Oh, yeah.
Let me-
Yeah, yeah, we-
No, we're not
let
asking you to do
let me
it.
put it to you this way. If I provide you a phone and we put in the Camden Connect app, get your officers to take a damn picture of something and send it to whoever can fix it. That's all.
That's easy.
That's all I got to do.
Yeah, Steve does that all the time. I'll call him all the time. Hey, man, what, have y'all not, did this or that? He'll have somebody out there. Yeah, we still do that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I was wondering on the vote if my officers had seen that. My thought went to, should we have reported that somewhere along the line instead of finding it on Lingo Day?
yeah,
So I guess,
right.
I think that speaks to that issue. Go to gogov.com. You can Google it and you'll see these types of apps that we're talking about.
Yeah, I get emails from you, yeah.
And since we're talking about that, that was 1,220 pounds of trash that was
Wow.
picked up by 8 people. That surpasses last year's totals,
Big one there.
and we're in half the year, but
Does that count the boat?
that includes the boat.
Full water.
What, did it have water in it?
No,
Oh.
No,
They
he's
had-
trying, he's being sarcastic.
They had used precision to cut the boat in 3 pieces and dump it.
Wow.
In regards to your email, we ran the numbers through DCI. That boat is so old, those numbers are so old, it didn't register. Those numbers should probably be from the 80s.
But also, when they're riding around, it's half the cars with no tags, all broke down, you can't even, a tow truck, I don't even know if they tow it. I mean, do they ever report that?
They, 64 days, 63 days.
Pre-E.
All right, I'll give you just, they said.
We're making a lot of changes.
It's just a question to ponder,
Sure.
but I would love, so that I don't get 10 million calls about it.
So I believe it's Alderman Pelosi, sent an email regarding a car on Main Street. Thank you for sending that, we checked into that, and then a telephone call, and that car suddenly was gone. The truck.
Oh, okay, I know what truck he's talking about.
Yeah, it's not there.
That
'Cause I was
white,
taking pictures of it probably.
Yeah.
the white,
So
that truck's been there forever. That white truck that parks backwards, yeah. Has flat tires all the time.
From another town, the registered owner was nowhere close to here. I called and left a message, I said, I need you to call me back up from your vehicles parked on our streets for a while. The next day it was gone.
See, simple stuff like that, but we would love help.
That's great.
That's really good. So are there any other questions, comments, concerns? Can I thank you guys for making this not feel like, how many hours? 4, 5 hours?
No, 2.5.
7, 2.5. But this was good.
No, it's
This was
3.5.
really good. I don't think, I've
11,
seen
12,
a budget workshop done like this in the town in ever. So thank you for sticking to it, and John, thank you for coming in and under absolute pressure. You thought they gave you pressure with the funds from Camden. Welcome to Spring Lake. It's a new day, and you are helping us continue to do things the new Spring Lake way.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay, if there's no further
Oh,
discussion,
we gonna set it up in here.
back out here, Harley, thank you. We appreciate all of your hard work, diligence. Thank you to the staff. And thank you, Jamie, for always being present to record what's happening. We really appreciate it. This meeting is now adjourned.